Yeah, it sounded terrible this early in the morning. Let me do that again. Steven, if John Gruden was actually offered the Jets offensive coordinator job, should he have taken it?
No.
Why not?
This is Gruden. He doesn't deserve to be an offensive coordinator. He's a head coach.
Yeah, I think he's been offered OC gigs the last few years. But man, I thought he was going to get a college job.
Yeah.
And a lot of teams said no. Actually, every team said no. Arkansas, LSU, Florida, a good deal of teams that he was kind of linked to. And he said himself that he wanted to be an SEC coach. If you want to get back in the NFL, maybe it's baby steps. I know it's beneath him. And the Jets, ugh. But
yeah,
maybe.
I mean, I think he should get back to coaching by now, but I don't know, as an offensive coordinator, I don't think that would work.
I think Dennis Allen wanted him with Derek Carr in New Orleans, and he said no to that.
Mm-hmm.
With Aaron Glenn, and you have no idea who the QB is going to be. Yeah, I get that. And you know what? He's extremely entertaining on Barstool. It's a little too much Gruden, and the Nicey videos have definitely jumped the shark. But I like every now and then seeing him, open a box. It's a little crazy and all over the place, but I kind of like when he's, talking about some obscure college, and he's like, I went there, man. He went there. This guy you remember from back in the day, man. True blue chip player. So I like the Gruden videos, but if he wants to get back to coaching, maybe that should have been an option for him.
I'm gonna hold true to this, and it was the same I said for Belichick, even though it was like a foregone conclusion. Like, it was an inevitability that Belichick would get back into coaching, but
yeah,
I thought he found a home in broadcasting with his love for football. He came off as a very likable individual, and now he's not even getting voted to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And I don't think we've, at least the first ballot, and I don't think we've even had a chance to talk about that because we haven't had a podcast since then, which is just insane.
No, we did. We did.
We did?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. We did. Okay. All right. Get my days mixed up. But point being, when he got back into coaching, you just saw Belichick revert back to miserable, curmudgeonly, just get out of my face. I don't want to talk about this. Belichick head coach guy. I don't want Gruden reverting back to that. Gruden, it was not fun seeing Gruden become the head coach of the Raiders again in his second stint. It was, he was miserable. Like,
I liked it for the nostalgia, but I hear you.
The Hard Knocks thing was great. Like, let's be honest, it was a really, really entertaining season.
Knock out wood if you're with me, gentlemen.
Because of everything that came along with it. Like, he enjoys that part, but it feels like we're getting this more glamorized version of Gruden whenever he's in front of the camera doing media things, and I think I like it that way.
I hear you. I also want to get back to the point where he's broadcasting games. Like, enough time has passed. I'm tired of him kind of being like a influencer, if you will, where if he's going to be a analyst for the rest of his time on this earth, then I want him back on football games. Yeah. I think he's earned the right to maybe go to Thursday Night Football and any other packages or broadcasts, I should say, that are willing to give him an offer. I would prefer him over Kirk Herbstreit. And just watching, I love this time of year, even though we have one more football game left. And I'm like, it's going away pretty quickly here in a week. Just watching the Super Bowl highlights, the 30-minute versions of them, just watching Gruden, man, even though Super Bowl 37 gives me terrible memories of the Raiders losing to the Buccaneers 48-21. I still love hearing Gruden on the sideline. Are you out of your mind? Are you out of your skull? And it's them talking about how the Raiders were getting their ass kicked in that game, 34-3, and he's just like, they're dragging ass, man. They're dragging ass. Every part of him mic'd up. I just missed that with Gruden. Sure. Him also, like, when Bon Jovi performs in the postgame, it's Bon Jovi, man. It's my life. It's about me.
Yeah, but I think those days are long gone. He has to be a winning head coach if we want to actually have fun watching Gruden. Because, again, no one looks back at those years with the Raiders because they were miserable. From
the second time around, you're saying?
Yes. From the time it started really to the very end till he was forced to resign. I just think that he's found a perfect place being on YouTube and making the jokes with the Fired Football Coaches Association. Like, he'll get back into it. I know he'll get back into coaching. I know, but I just enjoy watching breakdowns and videos of him and dissecting and previewing whatever. I'm more into that rather than Gruden the coach. But if it's his dream and that's what he wants to do, then fine, go ahead with it. But I miss the days where, we're hearing Gruden and Tirico talking about Matthew Stafford on Monday Night Football. Look at him fit into that hole, man. I call it the turkey hole.
I miss that. I also miss him being mic'd up at Raiders practice, just being like the Charles Woodson. Hey, man, I'm going through my Rolling Stone magazines. They're telling me that Dr. Dre and Eminem are the new McCartney and Lennon. I'm like, you got to be out of your mind, man. McCartney and Lennon? We're talking Beatles here. You want to build a beautiful mansion, man? Brick by brick.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so that was a report this week that John Gruden was offered the Jets OC position. And if I had to guess, I think that'd be Woody Johnson reaching out to him, not so much Aaron Glenn, because I would assume Aaron Glenn would be like, I don't know if I like that. That guy that has that big of an ego, if we go off to a bad start, then people are going to say, like, John Gruden should be the head coach over me. Gruden went on local radio and denied the whole thing, saying there's a lot of rumors out there, man. But when there's smoke, there's fire. I had to believe that actually was true. And you know what? Good for Gruden to say no.
Dumb question. Was Woody Johnson
Maybe
there when
answer.
Was Woody Johnson the owner when Gruden was a coach there?
I believe so, yes. Woody Johnson took over when Belichick was going to be named the head coach of the Jets, and he stepped down. So that's all you should know about that. That's all you need to know about that.
Yeah, that's insane.
God. Yeah, man. A lot of I'm starting to see, like, I know that there's a lot of bad owners in the NFL, and I kind of like roll my eyes. People say, like, yeah, I get it, whatever. Owners, billionaires, we all hate them. I get it. Just seeing some of these press conferences recently, and the decisions made by the Browns. We'll get to it later. Some of these owners, good Lord, they definitely fuck up franchises.
Yeah. Look at David Tepper in Carolina, or, shoot, Jed York until he found Kyle Shanahan. like all these owners, man.
I will say, amongst like the Bay Area owners, I think Jed York is the best right now, just because he learns to stay out of the limelight. He only shows up every now and then.
Sure.
And he kind of shoots himself in the mouth a little bit, where I would say
shoots himself in the mouth. Wow.
Okay, that's a little aggressive. Shoots up in the foot, or puts his foot in his mouth. Screwed up those terminology. There you go. He misspeaks when saying, like, we want to reset the market with Brock Purdy.
Sure.
And I'm like, you don't need to say that. That's a little too soon to say that. But he definitely knows, like, I don't need to be front and center like I was when Harbaugh was the coach, or Jim Tom Sula, or Chip Kelly. Now he's learned, like, I got football people taking care of things. So let John and Kyle speak. And then, I think Joe Lacob kind of screws things up. I think the Johnson family with the Giants screw things up as well. We'll talk about them too today. Luis Ariz signing for the Giants. But yeah, I think Jed York's learned to kind of simmer down a little bit.
Yeah. You haven't really heard him speak, which is the best thing, but you haven't had to because he hired Kyle Shanahan. Like, what's going to happen? Say the Niners don't get to where they want to get, which is, back to the Super Bowl and quest for 6 and all that, and they don't complete it. Well, what if one day they let go of Kyle Shanahan? Then Jed York has to speak. Like, this is the first time I'm hearing from Terry Pagula ever since they hired Sean McDermott. Like, I haven't heard him speak a word.
Yeah.
The only reason I knew who he was is because there was an American tennis player named Jessica Pagula, and I was like, oh, her dad's the owner of the Bills. And you didn't hear him speak until now, and it makes you wonder, like, what, even though they're not speaking publicly, like, how are they? Do we really think that they're just stepping back here? Like, who's on whose side? Like, is it going to be a situation where, Jed York takes John Lynch's side and John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan start butting heads, which I don't envision happening. Like, they seem to have a pretty, I guess, for lack of a better term, just solid working relationship.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We haven't heard from Jed York, but we also don't know anything that's happening behind the scenes. Plus, he's dealing with a lot. Like, there's always a bunch of these. There's a lot of litigation that goes on with the 49ers, specifically 49ers Enterprises and Santa Clara County, that just 49er fans don't even know about because you're focused on football. You're not focused on the outside stuff looking in. But yeah, he's got other stuff to worry about too. I don't know. I don't know with him.
Just your opinion, man. Stephen Langford, Derek Popper. We're coming to you on a Sunday morning. These weeks are always weird. The in between of the conference championships and the Super Bowl, where in years past the Pro Bowl was played. And believe me, I'm not a Pro Bowl guy. I do think I would be in favor of the Pro Bowl being the last game of the year if we move that back to Honolulu and just to have one more game of football. And of course, you have to change things with the NBA All-Star game if all on the same weekend. But I know people care about ratings. If there was one last football game and it's the Pro Bowl, yeah, I'd watch it if it went back to that.
Once the Super Bowl's done, I'm out.
All right.
Personally.
No, I mean, believe me, I'm not going to watch any of these Pro Bowl games. I don't care about tug of war or whatever, a sack race, and Shedeur Sanders is in it for whatever reason, I'm sure for ratings. But I don't know. I miss the good old days of when it was in Honolulu and really more the skills competition where quarterbacks had the footballs painted blue. You had to hit the bullseye. But now I get it. In the social media age, people complain. And I can't imagine with a meaningless game if how fans would be if Justin Herbert's out there and God forbid something happened. ACL tears are more prevalent than ever. So I doubt it's going to happen, but I'd be in favor of the Pro Bowl going back to what it used to be when we were kids.
I don't know. We differ on that. I wasn't exactly clamoring to watch the Pro Bowl when I was a kid.
No, I mean, I wasn't clamoring for it. Like, yes, the NBA All-Star game was better. The MLB All-Star game was better. It's just one more football game. That's it.
Yeah.
And I would enjoyed that. But like, yeah, we're definitely going in the off season now where, yeah, we'll have the Super Bowl next week, but yeah, it's here now. No more football coming up. And I go crazy. We'll talk about what the Warriors could do with the NBA trade deadline. It sounds like Giannis is definitely on the table. Let's talk about Luis Ariz signing with the San Francisco Giants. Before we do that, breaking news before you and I hopped on about 40 minutes ago. Klint Kubiak did have a second meeting with the Las Vegas Raiders yesterday in Seattle. Some people I saw yesterday on social media were trying to say that Mark Davis and him were having a meeting in Vegas in a very public setting, not at P.F. Chang's, but some other restaurant. And that's false. That did not happen. Anybody that was going to meet with Kubiak, it was going to be in Seattle while he prepares for the Super Bowl. And I'm sure this is going to be a distraction now while he and the team go fly to Santa Clara today. But he was meeting with the Raiders and Arizona Cardinals. And let me just get the proper wording right here from all the reports. Basically, the Raiders are zeroing in on Klint Kubiak. And no details, no terms have been agreed to. But it appears that Klint Kubiak, once the season is over for the Raiders, will be their next head coach. And this is the guy that I wanted. After meeting Saturday with the Las Vegas Raiders and Arizona Cardinals, Seahawks offensive coordinator Klint Kubiak intends to try to work out a deal to become the next head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. So kind of like a year ago when we knew Kellen Moore was going to get the Saints job, it was just going to be he has to finish the Super Bowl out and finish the season. And then that next day or 2 days afterwards, he was going to be named the head coach. It'll be interesting to see if he's a part of the parade and that, or if he just gets to work right away. But just talking about this, when before Pete Carroll got fired, there was links to Klint Kubiak a while ago, and other names popped up that I at first I was like, I like Kubiak. And then you hear about Brian Flores, you hear about Kevin Stefanski, you hear about these other possibilities. So I would change my mind week in and week out when we're doing this podcast. But I'm glad it is Kubiak because in order to get the best out of Fernando Mendoza, you need that marriage of a offensive play caller as the head coach and the quarterback. And it looks to me like Mendoza is going to be that type of player in a Shanahan system. I've kind of had a better read on him, I guess, in the last couple of days where we'll play some sound from him. His personality kind of gets me a little bit. But he is kind of a down-to-earth kid when you think about it, or when you watch a little bit more.
No one's had to think about it. You're like the only person that I could think of who said he's kind of fraudulent.
Not fraudulent, just corny. And I was like, I don't know if I can get behind this kid. But watching him more, like the Jimmy Fallon interview, I was like, this is just a bunch of cheese. And that's really from Jimmy Fallon in the first
No
place
way.
because
Yeah,
I'm not
no
a fan
way.
of his. But we'll play an interview later on where I thought, like, okay, you know what? This kid actually, he gets a little bit. And as far as the upside, watching him in college, I think that initially I was like, I don't know about the skill set, but some people are comparing him to Jared Goff. If he happens to be Jared Goff, I'll take that for the Raiders. But I think this is going to be a good fit. I don't know if it's going to equate to wins. Like, you say, I'll reserve judgment until we actually start playing football games. I have a strong opinion about the Raiders, but I do like the potential of a Klint Kubiak and Fernando Mendoza marriage.
Yeah, but I also want to see who becomes the D coordinator. Patrick Graham gone. Interested to see with that. I don't know what's going to happen with their offensive coordinator. I want to see who the new O-line coach is. I want to see how they beef up that offensive line. This is step one, and I do think it's a step in the right direction. I am reserving any excitement because I just don't know what's going to happen. And every time I get my hopes up, they all just come crashing down into the deep oblivion to where you're questioning, like, why the hell am I even rooting for this team? Because that's just how they operate now. But with Kubiak, they finally got what I think a lot of Raider fans have wanted in this head coach is not some guy from yesteryear, not some guy who needs to be given a second chance like Josh McDaniels or Pete Carroll. It's not some guy who just happened to grow up a Raider fan and the fan base loves him in Antonio Pierce. It's not a John Gruden either. It is one of these offensive coordinators who's a rising star within the coaching circles, and they finally hired one. Like last year, it was supposed to be Ben Johnson. I think a lot of people got their hopes up on Ben Johnson. So I think if you're asking a lot of Raider fans, they're probably stoked on it because this has been the path for a lot of the more successful teams as of late. So why wouldn't you be excited? But again, I'm just holding it off until the season actually happens. But I think it's a great hire. Like they didn't try to go, from pick someone out of left field. Just the hell. I didn't even think about that guy. Like I wouldn't know how to feel about Davis Webb, for example. Like the hell. How are you gonna justify hiring a 33-year-old who hasn't even had any offensive coordinator experience before?
Not even one, man. I think he's younger than that. I think he's like 31.
He's like, how you can't. But with Klint, dad's a former head coach. It feels very much like he wasn't as successful as his dad, but feels very much like a Shanahan type thing where you're hiring a guy who is kind of born to do this.
That's what I think the goal is here, where Tom Brady, you mentioned a year ago, had his heart set on Ben Johnson, and you and I were kind of ready for that. All the reports were that Ben Johnson was going to accept that job. But at the same time, we're like, it doesn't make sense. Like, why? Yeah. Does he just want power? Does he want a good team? There was no quarterback on the roster. You had to go out and get somebody. That was going to be the goal, was trade for Geno Smith, or sounds like trade for a J.J. McCarthy. We'll get to that a little later. I know that was on the table. But for Ben Johnson, you're like, I know the division very well with the NFC North. I know Caleb Williams, and he's going to be my quarterback. I just fixed the offensive line. That's a good team there. But the Raiders, it's a whole process. And it's still that way right now. But when you hear it's down to the Raiders or the Cardinals, some people were saying, like, well, you got Kyler Murray, you got that defense. You could win a little sooner than the Raiders. I'm like, yeah, I get that. But with the Raiders situation, you get the number one pick. You know who you're going to get. Can you make it work with Fernando Mendoza? And there is potential there. Is it generational talent? No. Is it, it's not Arch Manning. It's not what I envision to be really a true number one overall pick. But you can make it work with this guy. This guy, I think, could thrive in a Shanahan offense, and that's where the league's going right now. All these teams want a Shanahan type. Yeah. Now that the Arizona Cardinals are not going to get Klint Kubiak, sounds like they'll get Mike LaFleur. So everybody wants like a different version of this guy. They want this tree. It's honestly the best coaching tree in the NFL, where there's a few guys back in the day, the Bill Walsh coaching tree, and you can name maybe like 5 or 6 coaches. So many guys, whether it's Sean Mannion, who's not even a coach really for that long. He was a quarterback coach for the Packers last year, and now he's the Eagles offensive coordinator. Not a lot of experience, but because he works in the Shanahan scheme where he played under McVay and Kevin O'Connell and Matt LaFleur, that he's going to use that type of offense. So I think that's what the league wants right now. I don't know what to make of it. I think that he has a ton of potential, and Klint Kubiak has no coaching experience, but I like that. I think that I like it better than another retread where the Raiders have gone that so many times now with Jack Del Rio or John Gruden or Josh McDaniels or Pete Carroll. And let's be honest, Pete sounded good when it was announced, but in hindsight, it was a desperation move by both parties where they didn't get the guys they wanted initially, and Ben Johnson and Mike Vrabel. So they went with Pete Carroll, who on paper, yeah, Super Bowl champion, but his time has passed. But let me ask you, Steven, do you think this is a good job in comparison to the Arizona Cardinals?
I think so, purely based on the quarterback situation, because after the number 1 overall pick, like, what is there? Dante Moore's going back to college. Like, what are you going to get? Diego Pavia? Like, who's next for the Cardinals? Like, Kyler Murray? I don't think that's going to work out. I just don't think he has the appropriate mindset to win as a quarterback. Even when he acts like he's made all these changes, you still see the body language on the field, and you're like, I don't know if that's going to be like the leader of this team. And so I would take that, because you're getting a guy like Fernando Mendoza, and you have a leader on the defense in Max Crosby. Like, you can work with that. And maybe there are certain deficiencies that the Raiders had that Klint Kubiak maybe feels like he's better suited to fix, rather than say whatever's going on in Arizona right now. Like, they got Marvin Harrison Jr., who's awesome, but you got James Conner coming off another serious injury. Like, how effective is he going to be as your number 1 back? And defensively, they got Buda Baker, but I can't really think of many Cardinals defensive players off top that are like elite.
Yeah, I'm with you. There's Josh Sweat. There's some potential on that defense.
Forget Sweat.
Yeah, but honestly, that defense was not good for the majority of the season.
Yeah. Darnell Dockett ain't walking through that door, you know?
Darnell Dockett, yeah, 3 sacks in the Super Bowl, man. Underrated player. I think, yeah, like the Arizona Cardinals, I think the problem right now is when they're in these meetings, they can't tell their head coach who the quarterback's going to be, because maybe they want to keep Kyler, but maybe they don't. So, and I thought this was kind of silly that the Arizona Cardinals were trying to do this last-ditch effort to, appease Kubiak or lure him to the job, where most people were like, guys, it's not going to happen. Like, all the reports leading up to this were Klint Kubiak would rather stay in Seattle than be the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals. When you hear that, you're like, then why are they doing this? I think the reason why is because they're trying to get intel on the Seahawks for next season. They want to know the scheme and how, he's not going to give away all the secrets, but just some dirt. And then they'll go back to their other 3 options in Mike LaFleur, Raheem Morris, and Anthony Weaver. But if I'm those guys, I'm like, oh, I'm an afterthought to you? You were trying to get Klint Kubiak? For the Raiders, in comparison between the 2 jobs, yeah, Arizona, I think they have more talent for the immediate future. But look at that division. You got possibly the Super Bowl champions in the Seattle Seahawks. The Rams are the Rams, and we'll see how long Matthew Stafford plays. But I don't doubt for a second that Sean McVay would be able to find another quarterback. And then Kyle Shanahan's not going anywhere in that division. As far as the AFC West, I know that there's a ton of contenders in there. Now, with the Denver Broncos going to the AFC Championship game, the Chiefs they'll rebuild, but they'll figure it out. They always do. And Justin Herbert and the Chargers. But look at the head coaches, though, all in their 60s, or I think older. I'm not sure how old. Now, I don't think Andy Reid's in the 60s yet, but right now, Klint Kubiak is by far the youngest head coach in that division. So you're going to be there for a while, and those guys will eventually go away, and hopefully you're still there. So I think that's intriguing. I think working with Tom Brady is intriguing, not on a continuous level, but he'll be there in the offseason, and then in the regular season, you got to figure it out on your own. John Spytek has connections to his dad for back in the day when he worked in that front office with Denver. And as much crap as we give Mark Davis, he doesn't meddle, I don't think. I find him annoying, but I don't think he's that type of owner that tells you, I want this guy in particular. Now, he may tell you that he wants Fernando Mendoza, but I think the organization feels that way because they need a quarterback, and he's the best option, hands down. So you'll go with that. But yeah, I think for the options for Kubiak, it was on the table that maybe he wanted to go back to Seattle and be OC, and that's fine. I understand that situation. or that decision if he was going to do that. If he took the Arizona Cardinals gig, I'd be like, you could do better. The Raiders job, it's the last job remaining, and it's not a bad situation for him where he could say, I want to go back to Seattle, but if you pass up this opportunity, like, dude, you now are, in Steve Carell or Michael Scott's words, the belle of the ball. You have been the most exciting assistant coach in football during these playoffs with what you've done in the divisional round and the NFC Championship game. Like, everybody's trying to find that next Ben Johnson, and it wasn't there this offseason. I think Joe Brady got the job by default because he has that potential, but they didn't want to move off of Sean McDermott. It's just because they had the playoff loss. There was nobody like that this offseason, so I think Klint Kubiak is definitely that Ben Johnson type that Tom Brady wanted to get.
Let's look at the real reason why he chose the Raiders, okay? It's not because they live in Las Vegas. It's not because of the state tax or the lack thereof. It's not because of the weather. I mean, look no further than the team report cards, Derek. How can you not from the Players Union? Arizona Cardinals, treatment of families, D+, food and dining area, D-,
good
nutritionist, ooh, B, locker room, F-, ooh, training room, D-, training staff, C, weight room, F, strength coaches, C+, team travel, B, head coach, A, that doesn't matter, ownership, D-. I think there's something to it. And you go down to the Raiders, well, treatment of families, B+, food and dining area, A, nutritionist, A+, locker room, A-, training room, A, training staff, A-, weight room, A+, strength coaches, A, team travel, A, head coach, A-, ownership, A. So, I mean, it's looking like my
A's across the board, baby.
Looking like my report card in 6th grade, while the Cardinals report card is looking my junior year of high school.
F+, check.
F-, PE.
Seriously?
No, I didn't have PE junior year.
Oh, okay. About to say. It reminds me of that Tenacious D sketch where like he passes the friendship test. You passed just by a hair. F+.
Yeah.
Like F-. F is bad enough. F-?
Yeah, sad. It's just when you're going to you probably know as a coach, when you're going to those facilities, like, whether it's state of the art or whether this is a dump and they have a lot to figure out. And the Raiders obviously have that going for them. I mean, they don't have the results. They don't have the record, but they got the team report cards, which are pretty damn good. And I think that says a lot. Like, I know we're not going to, I'm half joking when I'm saying that they're looking at team report cards, but I do think that is kind of a microcosm of the widespread issues maybe with like the Cardinals as opposed to the Raiders. So I think it was a more attractive destination for the Cougs, and just the number 1 overall pick. But, still a lot of questions. Like, what's he going to do at wide receiver? Can he make it work with Dante Thornton and Jack Besh, who were, both selected not early, but 2nd and 4th round, still expected to do some damage? What's he going to do with Trey Tucker? How's he going to work with Ashton Genty? Are they going to rework that offensive line? And again, who's the DC hire? Who are we going to get to lead the defense? Patrick Graham, it kind of flew under the radar. Like, I was talking to my brother about it, or he just kind of messages me about the coaching stuff. And I mean, and talking about what they're going to have to find, and probably going to have to find a Patrick Graham replacement. I'm like, and he's like, why, what, you want to get rid of him? I was like, no, not really. I just don't think he's going to stick with the Raiders. Like, why is he going to stay with the team going through its 3rd coaching cycle since he's been there? Like, I don't think he needs to do that.
Yeah, I got to be honest. It was time to move off of Patrick Graham. Like, I get it. He's definitely, he's thought of highly in the NFL ranks, being a Belichick disciple, but we never really saw that with the Raiders. At times, yes, and you mentioned the illusion of complexity for a while. But
dude, someone else did that. Someone else talked about that. Someone else doing, like, as the film videos have risen in social media where, everyone's doing a version of Baldy's breakdowns. Someone brought up this illusion of complexity thing with the current coach. I'm like, that's nothing new, my friend.
Yeah.
Not so fast. Patrick Graham was spewing this stuff early in his tenure with the Raiders. Didn't work. But
no, it didn't work. Because I think it was an illusion of a defense this past year. Like, really, like it was bad. Yeah. So I'm not blaming Patrick Graham for everything because it's really more personnel there. But it was time to move on. And he's going to go to Pittsburgh, and he's tight with, Mike McCarthy from the Green Bay days. I have an idea of who the DC could be, but we can get to that a little later. But the key is Klint Kubiak needs to build up this offense. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised with a lot of guys in free agency from the Seahawks. Rashid Shaheed, Tariq Woolen, maybe they'll come over. Who knows? The running scheme is going to be interesting, going to a zone running scheme for Ashton Genty probably. And that offensive line. Is it where there's a lot of talent on there and just it's not put in the right scheme because Pete Carroll's son is coaching it? I think it's a mix, but I think that you're going to see the offense improve under Klint Kubiak. And I think that Fernando Mendoza, I've been very iffy on him. You take him because you have to. But as far as potential, it's lacking for me. But if you have this marriage, I do think it's going to actually pay dividends. I don't know if it's going to be successful right away because you need to do the same thing this offseason that you did or the Bears did a year ago where you got to change that offensive line. Now, maybe you just have to tweak it here or there and actually have Jackson Powers Johnson play center. But I think Klint Kubiak's more than capable of doing that. And some people say that he's not really like a leader of men type. He's kind of a little quiet. But you know what? I don't care. Like Mike McDaniel, I would say he's quiet, but he's goofy and quirky. As long as he gets the job done, who cares? As far as Fernando Mendoza, he's definitely quirky and weird to me when he's in these post-game interviews. But now I'm starting to see his personality a little bit more. Do you have the clip I sent you, Steven, of his sit-down interview with Caleb Presley from Barstool?
Yeah. How much of it do you want to play, though?
Not the whole thing, obviously, but just like maybe a minute.
Okay.
Where he gets the joke. Like, he's not that naive. He's not just some good old Christian kid that, doesn't understand how life works. I think he's more than what I anticipated.
Mendoza.
Thanks, Caleb. Appreciate you guys having me on. What's up, Glenny? What's up, man?
What does this sentence mean to you? Kilroy's Sports Bar and Grill.
Means Saturday nights after games with the boys.
What do you say to people who say, I saw Fernando Mendoza leaving Kilroy's with a goal line jumbo package?
If we score, then that's all matters. I mean, against Miami, we score in goal line jumbo package.
I agree.
Sometimes you just got to score.
How do you deal with tight ends if they become too attached?
I mean, I love myself 12 personnel, 2 tight ends. Too attached.
Is it safe to say you prefer heavy personnel?
Yeah. I mean, because usually then you get play action and it's nice.
Do you like fat chicks because they remind you of your O-line?
Oh, I thought we were talking about football.
You won the Heisman. You win.
Do we have to keep going?
No, we're good. I mean, and it goes on. Like at one point, he's like, so Mendoza, answer me this. I've heard you say fucking and fricking. What are you? A fucking or fricking guy? And he was like, a little bit of both. He was like, well, which one do you prefer? He goes, I prefer neither, but if I have to, I'll drop a fuck or a frick. It's just like, he's not this squeaky clean guy that I thought he was going to be. And you know what? That didn't matter in the first place. I'm good with Fernando Mendoza being the Raiders' next quarterback.
I'm glad we got some clarity on that.
Well, I don't know. We were playing the post-game interviews, and he was cheesy, you have to admit.
Yeah, but I thought it was very genuine, though. You didn't see the genuine nature of it. You thought it was a little over the top.
I thought it was initially. I thought that he was trying to be like a CEO, like where Sean McVay, to me, is kind of phony in his press conferences, where it's like, just be you, man. You're too button up right now. Just calm down a little bit.
Now, how receptive are the players going to be? I still think the jury's still out on that. Like what's it going to look like when he's in the locker room trying to lead his team like it's Indiana? It's like, dude, you're a rook. Like, I know you're the quarterback, but you're a rook. I think he understands. Like, I have a feeling he's not so naive to think that he could just go to a team because he's the first overall pick and he's just automatically going to have the respect of every single player in that locker room and he's going to become the instant leader. Like, I think he understands when he's going to the Raiders, it's Max Crosby's team.
Yeah.
I think he'll understand that. And he'll know to earn that respect. But I do wonder whether some players are going to look at that thinking, I don't know. But then again, it's the Raiders. Who are they to judge? You know what I mean? They had Gardner Minshew as their quarterback one time. Like,
and you were hyped for that.
Who are they to tell this guy like he can't be the leader of this team when he's probably going to stick around longer than a majority of the players still on the roster?
Well, he needs to be. When you're drafted first overall and you're the franchise quarterback going forward, you need to be the leader of the team.
Yeah.
So that'll come in time, and he'll definitely take his lumps his rookie year. Just because they get Kubiak and get this quarterback doesn't mean that thing's going to turn around right away. So it'll take some time, but eventually you want to see that Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, Drake May growth. So we'll see, but it'll be baby steps. As far as defensive coordinator for the Raiders, I think there's a 49er connection here. And this goes all the way to, when did this come out? I think on Wednesday. Yeah, it had to be after we did our last podcast. So I was surprised that the Cleveland Browns named Todd Monken their next head coach. I was like, Monken, really? Okay. Monken, monk fruit. He's going to be 60. He's been in the league for a little bit of time as the Baltimore Ravens OC, was the offensive coordinator for Georgia during their national championships. I think was the head coach of Southern Mississippi for a little bit of time. Did not have a good record there, but mixing off between college and the NFL. Also, he was with the Cleveland Browns back in the day when Freddie Kitchens was head coach and just shit-talked him while he was still the head coach of that team, where there was reports out there from Benjamin Solak that is it Solak or Solak? Solak. Ben Solak had it out there where back in the day, Todd Monken would tell opposing coaches, like, I don't know what we're doing. I don't know what Freddie Kitchens doing as a play caller. He's not very good. Then he lost his job, and now he's back with the Cleveland Browns, funny enough. But he gets the gig, and I have to believe that the Cleveland Browns, when they were interviewing their last three candidates, Nate Shieldhouse, Todd Monken, and Jim Schwartz, that they were feeling like Todd Monken would be the best option because then Jim Schwartz would stay on staff because they're closer in age. Maybe Jim Schwartz would have felt slighted had Nate Shieldhouse at 35 years old be his boss. If it's Todd Monken, all right, you can deal with that a little bit. But Jim Schwartz, I don't think he let it be known to the Cleveland Browns when he was interviewing for the job and doing all those essays and personality tests that if he didn't get the gig, then he was not going to be there anymore. And why would you do that? Why would you tip your hand and be like, well, if you don't give me the gig, then I'm fucking out of here. So he played it close to the vest. And then sure enough, when they announced the move that Todd Monken is head coach, he's like, well, I want out of here then. All the reports were that Jim Schwartz was pissed off, put all of his stuff in a box, left his office, told everybody he's leaving, he's out, and he's still under contract. And the Browns are operating as if he's still going to be DC. Now, if there's no landing spots for him, then he might have to come back with his tail between his legs and say, oh, yeah, like a George Costanza thing was like, me quit? I didn't quit. No. I'm happy here with Monken. I mean, I find that hard to believe at this point. But now you see where Pelissero reported that the 49ers could be in on Jim Schwartz now. They have yet to name a DC. I know that Kyle talked about really that Gus Bradley is the main candidate, but they haven't named him yet. I think they're waiting on Raheem Morris. I think they're waiting on Jim Schwartz. The key is, how long can they wait? And if the 49ers move on to another DC, and now the Bills have got their guy and Jim Leonard, I think it's a possibility that the Raiders, now getting Clint Kubiak, could be like, hey, Jim Schwartz, come over to us, Coach Max Crosby.
You think that could happen?
I think so.
Well, I am so confused. Wait, so you think he'd reject the 49ers job?
No. What I think would happen is the Browns, with the way that they run this organization, is, I mean, you've seen it, like getting Deshaun Watson, and they just make a lot of questionable moves.
Sure.
And the Todd Monken one is questionable. Is it to benefit Shador? Maybe. And if they're trying to build a team around him, yikes. But they're also the type of organization to be like, no, I'm sorry. Jim, I know you're upset, but tough shit. You're under contract. You're a defensive coordinator. Now, if you're Jim Schwartz, if you're the Cleveland Browns, if you're Todd Monken as the head coach of the Cleveland Browns, do you really want somebody that doesn't want to be there on your staff? Probably not.
Right.
But how long can Kyle wait on that? Because Aditi Kikawala had a report, not a report, but just a tweet out there, a memory from 10 years ago, where Kyle wanted out of the Cleveland Browns as well. And he wrote, I think, like a 30 slide PowerPoint with the help of Mike McDaniel to get him out of there. And Mike Pettin, the head coach at the time, who Kyle did not get along with, was like, all right, if you don't want to be here, dude, if you took that much time and effort to make this, then by all means, leave. The thing is, I don't know if Kyle can wait on this whole process with Jim Schwartz to work out. And I think also Jim Schwartz is like, if I don't get a job soon, where the fuck am I going to go? The Raiders have an opening at defensive coordinator.
Sure.
I think that Kyle can't wait forever for Jim Schwartz. And now it just was reported that Mike LaFleur is going to be your next head coach of the Arizona Cardinals. So Raheem's out of that job. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if Raheem Morris is named DC of the Niners by tomorrow. And then Jim Schwartz is like, well, I don't have a lot of options out there.
Right.
It's either go back to the Browns or go to the Raiders. I would take the Raiders job.
Well, would you flip that though? Like, what if Schwartz is hired by the Niners and Raheem Morris is open? Do you think the Raiders hire Raheem Morris in that circumstance?
Yes, 100%. I think that Klint Kubiak needs a experienced DC and a guy that has head coaching experience. All the better. If you get Jim Schwartz on this Raiders defense, that's promising. That is, I like that a lot, actually.
Well, I was looking, like, as you were talking, I was looking up who the Raiders have interviewed. I was just looking at a list of the guys they did interview to become head coach, and a guy who they held 2 interviews with. I think he still has a contract with the Panthers, but it was their defensive coordinator. Ajiro Aviro, I believe is his name.
Yeah, the Panthers DC.
Yeah, the Panthers DC. Like, I don't know. What if they like him so much that they say, hey, come and join Klint Kubiak's staff, bring him on board? I don't know.
If you're the Panthers, why would you sign off on that, though?
I don't know. And he just started his contract this year, so I don't think that's going to happen. He was probably just fielding interviews, and they were just letting him kind of test it out and see what he could be in line for, I don't know, next season. I don't know what his contract lines up as. But, yeah, I mean, I'm not mad at either of those picks. Like, we said it from the beginning. Get this up-and-coming offensive play caller. Get yourself a defensive coordinator who's been a veteran in this game and understands and is one of the more sought-after defensive coordinators in the league, especially a guy like Jim Schwartz, who's led the Browns. I'm not mad at that. So, again, it'd be a great step in the right direction, but I still have to see it. I feel like there's this curse, this cast that's been palled over this team.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. It's really self-inflicted because of ownership, honestly. But I think that Kyle's familiarity with Raheem Morris would probably lead me to believe that he would go with that job, Raheem. There's also rumors that Raheem would follow Mike LaFleur to Arizona because of their familiarity together with the Rams. But if you're Raheem, would you rather go coach the 49ers defense or the Arizona Cardinals defense? Probably the Niners. So it's all just a waiting game. And if Kyle wants to wait on Jim Schwartz would be great for the 49ers. But how long is this process going to be? And some people believe that he would be like, all right, fine, I'm under contract. I'll come back and coach Myles Garrett. I think also the Browns think of it as, all right, fine, leave. We'll get somebody to coach this great defense we have. So I think that it's very likely that the 49ers go with Raheem Morris and the Raiders land Jim Schwartz, which would be pretty good.
I was just checking if Raheem Morris was a part of the Piss Boy clan.
He is.
So Saleh, LaFleur, Morris, just, okay, move off one Piss Boy, let him become a head coach somewhere else, bring in another.
Yeah.
Wow.
One Piss Boy to the next, man.
Wow.
Drop by drop.
Wow. What if they have an offensive coordinator opening next season, the 49ers, that is, and he brings on Matt LaFleur, who gets fired by the Packers because they underachieved?
Well,
wow.
Yeah, they gave him a contract, but I doubt that.
3 straight Piss Boy years.
And by the way, now that Klint is going to be the Raiders head coach, I know that some people think that maybe Clay would join him. Kyle's not about that. Even though Kyle got out of his contract with the Cleveland Browns 10 years ago, it was clear Kyle in that press conference when the Niners lost to the Seahawks, when asked about would you let Clay leave to go be a play caller for another team, he was like, well, he calls plenty of plays for us, so no, I'm not doing that. No, absolutely not. I don't think Clay Kubiak's going to join Klint's staff. I think that you could see like Rick Dennison, who's his dad's like longtime right-hand man be the OC. But yeah, I think that the longer this goes with Jim Schwartz, I think it helps the Raiders who need a defensive coordinator.
Sure. But if I'm going to, like, I don't really have much interest in the brothers Kubiak leading the Raiders. Like, that's fine. And that's okay, Kyle. We do know that you always call the plays. Like, it's Kyle.
Yeah.
And how do we know? Because you say it. You can't dodge a question during a post-game press conference by saying, no, I wasn't focused on that. I was focused on the next play call. When you're saying that this offensive coordinator's calling the plays, you're not paying attention to the game. So which is it, Kyle? Is he calling the plays, or are you focused so much on the next play call that you can't even focus on the game management situation? Like, it's hypocritical. But I need to see what they do in the draft.
Yeah.
I need to see what they do with free agency. Like, I'm more interested now. Like, they apparently have the coach, and it sounds like Kubiak is going to put the right staff together. Like, if Jim Schwartz lands with them, all the better. Like, the guys worked with Myles Garrett. Now you're moving on to another defensive end who's in his prime. And I guess, yes, that's something to look forward to. But what does the talent look like? And we were saying towards the end of the season, the Raiders just didn't have the talent. Well, what's it going to look like? Are they going to get a number one receiver? Brock Bowers is probably that guy, but you still need like you still need, beyond the tight end, I still believe you need that possession receiver, a guy who you can throw to on any down, and not just a situation where, oh, it's the perfect play call and he was wide open. Like, no, someone who can match up one-on-one and get open themselves, not, need a Kubiak play call in order to do so. So there's a lot of question marks I still have. But again, steps in the right direction. I guess that's all that matters.
Yeah, I agree. It looks good. It's more promising. I think this is the most promising hire the Raiders have done since McDaniels. And I know I said on here he wasn't going to come to the Raiders. He did. And then I was like, this is the best hire they've had since John Gruden. I know that sounds bad because John Gruden didn't have a lot of success. That 2021 season was heading in the right direction, but I get fans' frustration with Gruden the second time around. But this has the potential to be something where you get a young offensive mind and go the Kyle Shanahan route. I'm all for it. Is it going to equate to wins? I don't know. It's the same thing with Tony Vitello and the Giants. They can make some moves right now where the offseason looks a little more promising, but until he coaches a game, we're not going to really know what their potential is. Right. So we'll see what happens.
They have a perfect, to go back to the Gruden thing, they have built the foundation, man. They built the foundation. Wow.
Here we go. Raheem Morris is going to be your next 49ers defensive coordinator.
Wow.
According to Adam Schefter, the 49ers are set to hire former Falcons head coach Raheem Morris as their next DC.
Damn.
There you go.
Is this all going to come true in real time?
Jim Schwartz should be going to the Raiders then.
It's a big deal. But Raheem Morris is a nice ad for the Niners, though.
No, that's not bad at all. I think that's a great move. Well, all this news going on. I think Raheem Morris, I think sounds like Kyle was just waiting on him. I think that now we'll see what happens with Gus Bradley. Wouldn't be the least bit surprised if Gus Bradley goes to Tennessee now to be the DC for Robert Saleh. I think Kyle usually is very honest during press conferences, but he was playing that one close to the vest when asked about the DC position. He was like, yeah, obviously Gus, but there might be some other, candidates we talked to. So, they're not waiting on Jim Schwartz. Raheem Morris now is your DC of the 49ers. I like that move a lot, actually.
I thought that was telling, just going back to last year. If you saw the date that Robert Saleh ended up getting hired, it was January 24th. And that was well after that end of season presser where he mentioned Gus Bradley as the favorite. You're thinking, if he hasn't accepted it by now, like who else is he going to hire? But there's only one tiny concern that I would have. And this concern more stems from the defense having success. So I think it's a brilliant move. But the question is he going to be another one and done defensive coordinator? And is that what the 49ers want? it feels like they do want some stability there. And if he's, fired 1 year and then maybe the next someone feels like he got a raw deal, because Morris felt like a player's coach. And I think the Falcons, whatever was happening, I don't know what the balance of power there was, but you knew something was off when they took Michael Penix with that draft pick and Kirk Cousins the same year when paying him $40 million. Like something was off there. And whether it's the offense just discombobulated, I don't know. But I do wonder, like, if this is a situation where Morris is going to look for another head coaching job, or he's just going to stick around with the defense for a little bit, have something else to focus on, and then get back into it. I don't know. Yeah, you see, that's interesting. Aram, I also think Raheem isn't getting another HC opportunity, so Kyle shouldn't have to worry about replacing him every year.
I agree with that, yeah.
Maybe, but you never know.
I think with his failures as Bucks head coach and Falcons head coach, I would doubt that Raheem gets another opportunity, which sucks. But I think when we talked to Mike Silver last week, me and Copes on Dirty Work, he was all over this, where he was like, I think Raheem, if you look at it, like, why would you want to coach the Arizona Cardinals over the 49ers defense? And if he got that job, he was all for it, to be the Cardinals head coach. There were some rumors that maybe he would join Mike LaFleur, but this is the best situation, and there's familiarity there. Kyle loves Raheem Morris. That's why Sean McVay hired him, because he was a piss boy, part of that Washington group. And I think Raheem was an offensive assistant helping out Kyle as the coordinator in 2016. Yeah, we talked about it earlier this year. And, yeah, I think that just their familiarity, that's why he wanted to go with that. It's a scheme that he's comfortable with. Kyle really is strict on what defense he wants to run. I know a lot of people in recent years, even Dante Whitner, have suggested that maybe they change it up to a 3-4. He likes playing that 4-3 wide 9 base. So if you could get, Raheem to come over and have the same success that he had with the Rams a couple years ago, and they had Hall of Famers on that team, and Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, Von Miller. Not the same with the 49ers, but he can help with that defense. So, yeah, Raheem now being named 49ers DC, I think that's a hell of a move. And now I think we'll see the other pieces go into place, where Gus Bradley, I'm sure they would love him to stay on staff, but now he's going to feel slighted he didn't get that job. Go join your buddy Robert Saleh with the Tennessee Titans. And then now that there's not a lot of landing spots for Jim Schwartz, Klint Kubiak needs an experienced DC. I would anticipate Jim Schwartz either goes back to Cleveland and is pissed off. I doubt that happens. I think right now Jim Schwartz will be your Raiders defensive coordinator.
Yeah, the Schwartz is with him. And back to a little bit off the Morris thing, this probably applies to every defense, but beyond the schematics, it feels like the 49ers, more so than, I don't want to say more than any other team, because I'm not going to act like I've dissected how each defense reacts to the certain coach and how they react. But I think the 49ers defense thrives off charisma, thrives off energy. Like, you go to their practice, it's all energy all the time, whether it's Chris Kasarik coaching the defensive line, whether it's Robert Saleh at defensive coordinator. But the last 2 years, Nick Sorensen obviously wasn't ready for the job. Steve Wilkes is a very, very capable coach, but it didn't work out. And there were times where you had to put him up in the booth, on the sideline. There's a mix of that going on. I think what we saw this year is they really thrive off energy, charisma, passion, leadership. Like, it's no shock that you have your head coach on the sideline there who's looking to them to make the final play of the game, and he somehow instills this identity to where, like, they are going to make that final play no matter who the talent is. So I think Raheem Morris is a really great hire in that regard. I can't speak to all the schematics and how he's going to shuffle around the defensive line and and all that. Disguises, whatever. Like, I don't know what he's going to do with the cornerbacks. I don't know if he's going to make the secondary better, or Malik Mustafa and Jair Brown in to have career years. Is one of them, or one of their jobs, in jeopardy? Like, is Renardo Green the surefire number 2 cornerback behind Diamador Lenore? Can Lenore have I don't want to say a better season than this year, but it did feel like that he was getting beat a little bit more than years previous. So there's a lot that goes into it. But as far as you having just an energy guy, pure energy, Morris is that. So I do think that's perfect.
Yeah, I think it's perfect for them. I think that they run the same or a similar scheme. Now, I don't think that Raheem was traditionally more of a 3-4 guy, but I don't think he's going to change that up. I think he's adaptable. He's versatile in the defenses he runs. And yeah, to your point earlier, I don't think you have to worry about him leaving in 1 year. I think he's going to stay with Kyle for a little bit of time now. So you have stability at the DC job. Yes, it's their sixth coordinator in the last 6 seasons, but I think he's going to be there for a while now. So yeah, I think it's a slam dunk move for the 49ers. And now we'll see if the other DC candidates go off to other jobs right now, as far as Tennessee or the Raiders. Yeah, I think this is huge for the Raiders now with Jim Schwartz. I think that could be a possibility where he lands there. Real quick, just some quick hits on some other NFL stories. And I want to get your thoughts on this, Stephen, as a father-to-be, because a lot has been made about paternity leave for NFL jobs. And this becomes a dicey topic. But before we get to that, the Vikings fired Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, who was with the 49ers back in the day in their front office. They fired him on Friday, I believe. Yeah. And I think this absolutely stems from Sam Darnold getting to the Super Bowl, where I think now we're in a day and age where more owners see social media outrage and kind of go with it. Where like if back in the day, like, yeah, you got phone calls and you got angry letters, but you see in real time, if there is a big majority of your fans saying this sucks, then they may make a move. Like, I'm sure that's what happened with the Dallas Mavericks. I mean, you could see it firsthand. The team sucks, but when everybody says fire Nico Harrison, they're like, yeah, we probably should now. When everyone's pissed off saying, why don't we Sam Darnold back? And the owner feels the same way and the head coach feels the same way. It's like, yeah, what are we doing here? And I thought that maybe this move was done too early, where you could do a whole offseason. He did make good moves to free agency. The drafts weren't fantastic, but he did give Justin Jefferson a contract extension, and he is the one that drafted J.J. McCarthy, but I think that needs time to grow. The Kirk Cousins decision, not fantastic, but you weren't going to give him the amount of money that Atlanta gave him.
Sure.
The big misstep was not signing back Sam Darnold, where he only signed for $33 million a year. You could have made that work in Minnesota. So I think ultimately that's why he lost his job, where the season ended for them a month ago, and now Sam Darnold makes the Super Bowl, and you guys got J.J. McCarthy, and you're like, what are we doing here?
Right, but then there's another reason.
Yeah, you want to get to that instead?
I mean, yeah, I haven't looked deep into the Vikings and their general manager hires and what moves he's made. Like, I don't know, they fire a GM, so what? It happens all the time. But then I'm trying to get to The Athletic, but you know what? I'll just read it verbatim. From Diana Rossini and Alec Lewis. Adofo-Mensah took roughly 2 weeks of paternity leave in 2023 following the birth of his first son, and many around the league were in disbelief that he did this. During that time, he worked remotely and was absent from several training camp meetings and practices. Minnesota was publicly supportive of his time away. Following the birth of his child, the general manager left for paternity leave, missing about 2 weeks of training camp and practices and working remotely during that stretch. Word of his time away from the team traveled quickly around the league. Among some rival executives and coaches, it was met with disbelief. In an NFL culture where many players, coaches, and executives proudly acknowledge missing the births of their children, taking time away to care for a newborn and support a partner remains uncommon.
What are your thoughts on that one as a future father, Stephen?
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, but that's not the ultimate reason they fired him. I think that was just, my guess is they just spoke to some rival executives and they happened to bring up this one thing in 2023 that rubbed them the wrong way for whatever reason. Like, God forbid a guy go try to take care of it. It's not even just caring for the newborn child. It's also caring for the wife who has to deal with postpartum. Like, that's a terrible look. Like, Mike McDonald saying that he only spends like a half hour with his son every week and Like that's the only time that he gets with him. It's at nighttime when he's just about to go to bed, like in the hour leading up to him going to bed or whatever.
To be fair, during the season, I'm sure he spends a ton of time with him in the offseason.
Well, that's one thing. But with rival executives giving him a side eye because he took 2 weeks of paternity leave, that's nothing. That is nothing.
Yeah.
I think if anything, this is going to strike some younger women out there who might feel like they want to marry a general manager or a head coach.
Well, it's a very time consuming job, but when I read this morning, I was like, I love Diana Rossini and she's always on it, but the rival executive as a source thing to me,
it's ridiculous.
It's a little much. I doubt that's really the main reason why Minnesota fired him.
Yeah,
they have to agree to that. They have to sign off on that. There's been a lot of issues in the past with NFL front offices not being very supportive of those situations. Famously, in 1993, the Houston Oilers, if you watch the Football Life, David Williams, an offensive lineman, it was a whole thing where it got to Al Gore as vice president, Babygate, where he left the team for 2 weeks. And Bud Adams and the ownership group were like, hey, we expect him to be a soldier. You know, you're there for the baby's birth and then you go back to war. That's not football. Football's not war. I hate when people relate the two. Like there's terminologies, blitzes and stuff like that. But come on, people are not dying over football. That's ridiculous. And it's a different time and era where I've heard many quarterbacks like Ben Roethlisberger or others in recent years say, if my child's born and it's a game day, I might miss that game. Draymond Green just talked about it a couple weeks ago where he's upset where he has to play and he's not around for the birth of his child. That sucks. That absolutely sucks. And that's part of the job sometimes, but you can decide what you want to do. It is your life. So I do not think that Kwesi Adofo-Mensah was fired because of this. I think it's because of the power dynamic between him and Kevin O'Connell, where Kevin O'Connell's proven to be a really good head coach in this league. He's going to have more say. Now, it's interesting to me that they didn't go with Aaron Rodgers this offseason when Mike Silver joined us a year ago and said that it's Kevin O'Connell's decision to do this. But now we're maybe seeing that, Adofo-Mensah did have his opinions on things that didn't jive with the rest of the organization. It's clear that KOC wanted Sam Darnold to stay, and they were considering trading J.J. McCarthy to the Raiders. That was on the table. You brought that up a year ago. We were talking about that.
Yeah.
When he got hurt during training camp. So, yeah, I think this is just one thing to come out of it. Again, I'm not like trying to go against Diana Rossini and Alec Lewis on their reporting, but I'm sure like in the organization, it was probably met with like, guys taking a long time with that baby, but I don't think anybody spoke up to be like, hey, get your ass to work. I think that's ridiculous.
Well, also, their team report card was an A+ in terms of treatment of families. Now, that's just players, but maybe the general manager falls into that too. Look, what this boils down to me is Wall Street trader turned football analytics nerd. I don't know why it does that.
Does it do that for me too? What the hell is that?
I don't know, man. But Wall Street trader turned football analytics nerd doesn't get along with lifelong football guy and Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah.
Like I could absolutely see there being a strange dynamic. So, but the paternity leave thing, that's a bad look for the NFL. It just is.
It is.
2 weeks during training camp. Freaking Aaron Rodgers went to Egypt. No one cared.
Tom Brady left training camp to go work on things with Giselle. And she just got married to that judo instructor.
Think he kicks Tom Brady's ass or what?
Probably.
Yeah.
But then Tom Brady's answering FaceTimes for which Jenner was it? Live on TV.
I don't know. Brady's handsome and he's rich. What else are we? I mean, he's the greatest of all time too. He's fine.
I'm not jealous. Just props to him.
He's fine. But the paternity leave thing, like, damn it. I don't know. That's just
I'm with you. I think it was Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi Adofo-Mensah not getting along. That's the bottom line. Is kind of like years ago where Mike Vrabel and Ron Carthon weren't on the same page as far as tanking, but also trying to be competitive. I just think that Kevin O'Connell is going to have way more power in that organization. Again, I would have waited to see what J.J. McCarthy becomes to make this move. I think it's just based off of emotions where you see Sam Darnold make the Super Bowl. But I get it. If it's GMs have been fired at weird times, pre-draft, post-draft. The guy that was the GM of the Jets before Joe Douglas was fired right after he gave Le'Veon Bell a contract. So it's not that big of a deal. I think they'll be able to find somebody, but I don't think the paternity leave was the reason why he got axed. Now, speaking of that subject, did you see Joe Brady's press conference?
No.
Okay. I watched clips. I listened to about like 30 minutes of it. He's really impressive. Where he's 2 years older than me, and he seems very down to earth, and he gets it. I think that he was genuinely himself, where he didn't make it seem like he was, like, oh, I'm calm, cool, like I got this. He was taking deep breaths during the press conference because he knew the magnitude of this moment. He made a point to give praise to Sean McDermott, saying, like, I am not here because of him, and I am in a better position because of him. Where this organization was nine years ago was nothing compared to what I'm jumping into. And There's a ton of pressure on me, and I get that. I haven't proven anything. But I'm not standing here without Sean McDermott, where he was bad-mouthed by Terry Pagola a week ago. I'm glad that he took the time to do that. Now, I saw this clip of Joe Brady acknowledging his wife. And he tells a story about how when you're a coach, you have to make sacrifices. And he had to make a big sacrifice, but he took the time in his press conference, one of the earliest things he said, to acknowledge his wife and everything that she's done for him.
I definitely can't look at you now. This job demands sacrifice, right? I'm calling you on the way to a game while you're going into labor, right? And I find out after a game that you go through, you give birth by yourself. This game takes away time and energy and presence from you. And you've carried the weight that comes with this job so that I can pursue my calling. Your strength, your belief, and your steadiness is the foundation that allows me to do what I do. And you believed in me long before this moment ever arrived. I am nothing without you, and I will not get anywhere ever in life without you. I didn't cry, so that's not going to go well.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's a couple years older than you, right?
Yeah, 2 years older than me.
Yeah, that haircut definitely says millennial all over it. It screams millennial. Yeah, 36 years old. 89.
It's interesting haircut. It's interesting haircut.
Nah, man, that was the thing. That was when it was the fade on the side, little taper, and you line up the front. That's the ultimate millennial haircut, right there.
But I can also see him like he grew up in Florida, Fort Lauderdale. I could see him putting on like the necklace, trying to go down to the basketball court. He's like, "Hey man, can I get in?" Just he gives me like white man can't jump vibes a little bit.
No, you can picture him in like the Patrick Mahomes shades, tank top.
Yes, 100%.
On a boat, partying. Yeah, you could see that.
But with what he just said, I saw that clip and I was like, wow, you don't see many head coaches doing that, acknowledging their wives and basically saying like, I can be distant from you. And I wasn't there for one of the biggest moments of my life, and you were. Now, on the flip side, there's a lot of people on social media coming after him saying like, that's not what this job's about. You don't need to do shit like that. You can miss when you want to, when it's the birth of your son or child, whatever it was. A lot of coaches on a lower level are going after him saying like, that's ridiculous that you did that. What's your reaction to that, Stephen?
A lot of coaches are going after him for that?
Yes.
Really? Like who?
Not big, like high school coaches or college coaches. There's people like, we don't teach that. We don't teach to leave your family in a situation like that. If you were on my staff, I would have fired you for not being there for the birth of your child. And my reaction is, I get that, but to each their own. And you don't know him and his wife's situation. I'm sure that was very painful for him. You could see it right there where he's crying. You don't know if his wife gave, like, I'm sure his wife gave the blessing of that. Like, no one's going to be like, well, honey, I can't be there. Sorry. I'm sure it was discussed. And also, like, yeah, unfortunately, we just talked about it with Kwesi Adofo-Mensah getting fired. That is the mentality in the NFL where you just keep working, and it shouldn't be. but that's what he decided to do. There's nuance to this thing. So just because you wouldn't do that doesn't mean that it has to be the same for his situation.
If you were on my coaching staff, who was saying these things? Like,
I saw, like, like for you page now, like you click on one thing and you get tons and tons and tons of it.
Right.
I saw quote tweet after quote tweet saying, this guy's full of shit. How dare he not be there for his wife? And I'm like, real guys, that's a personal thing that he, divulged to all of us. I'm sure he's not proud of that moment. So let's give it a little more nuance than just like, this guy's an asshole.
Yeah. To even acknowledge that, I think that says a lot. If you don't acknowledge that, and what you just don't want him to mention that. I think the fact that he was upfront about it shows just what their relationship is like, what their
100%.
marriage is like. Because it is a sacrifice. Like, I don't know. I personally couldn't imagine not being here for however long for Jesse, whenever that time comes.
Right.
But also, like, I'm sure, I mean, I'm not going to speak on their birth, but I'm sure she had a doula.
A what now?
A doula. It's like
you mind getting the X's and O's of birth, Stephen?
Look, man. A doula is a doula is just basically a support person hired by like the hospital.
Yeah,
go through a bunch of training. I think KCBS actually just did a story about it. We have one who literally, as we're doing this Joe Brady thing, texted us asking how we're doing. Like, she comes in and basically is like your guide, your instructor, your when you're climbing Mount Everest, she is the Sherpa.
Yeah, Sherpa.
I was about to say shaman. She is the Sherpa.
Close.
Like they're helping you kind of. You're doing a bulk of the heavy lifting yourself because it's your first time doing this, but they are also there every step of the way. And I'm sure she had that. But the fact that you even mentioned it, like, how about all those guys that don't mention it?
Exactly.
How about the ones that aren't open about how they've had to leave their families for prolonged periods of time? I think it's something that they know they're getting into. It's such a interesting job. Like, that's why I still find head coach to be just fascinating, to dive into the mind of somebody who wants to do that with their life. I think being a head coach sounds great on paper, but the amount of time and effort that you have to put in so that you can get a leg up on these other coaches, so you can get an edge, so you can outwork the next guy, like being in this industry where they're just constantly trying to outwork one another. Oh, I'm going to do this. Well, I'm going to do this. Your family's going on vacation for 3 weeks during this off season. Well, you know what? I'm going to be here working. And then the other guy hears that. Then it's like, well, maybe I should cancel my vacation for 3 weeks because this other guy's getting, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
It's so interesting, man. Like the addiction that I think comes with it. I think there's like an addiction to the routine.
Yeah, of course.
Football, which is why guys just don't want to get out of it. Like, why would Mike McCarthy keep coming back? It's because he loves football and loves the addiction of the routine, I guess. Not loves the addiction, but he might be subconsciously or unconsciously addicted to it. I just find it.
No, but they are.
Yeah.
These guys are addicted to football. They love their families, but they're addicted to football 100%. And when you get out of it, you don't know what to do with yourselves.
Yeah.
I thought it was, I thought it was great. I thought it was emotional. You don't see a lot of coaches doing that at press conferences where they acknowledge their wives, but not to that extent. Basically saying, like, I am nothing without you, and I need you by my side in order to be successful. I 100% agree with that. And success, if you have a woman by your side or a partner by your side, it makes things that much easier when you deal with shit on a day-to-day basis and just goes away when you go home to them. So, yes, I think that was really telling. And I like that he was honest about that, but the social media is going to be social media, and they're going to tear people apart for whatever they say.
Yep.
So,
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that's all the football I have for today. So let's get to the NBA trade deadline. And we've been talking about this for quite some time, Stephen, with the potential of the Warriors going after Giannis. And now it sounds like it's actually a strong possibility.
Yeah.
So last Wednesday, Shams Charania put out a tweet saying that Giannis is ready to move on from the Milwaukee Bucks, and they want to do so by next week, or in 2 weeks, I guess, when the tweet came out, next week, or by the summertime. And that's Giannis still trying to be the good guy, because I go back to that Sam Amick article where he told Sam, I am never, ever going to demand a trade. That's not in my nature. And that's fine. But is there much of a difference between demanding a trade and saying I'm ready to move on? And now he's going to play it off like, this was the Bucks decision and blah, 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 whatever. So we're here now where either Giannis is getting traded by next Thursday at the NBA trade deadline on February 5th at 11 o'clock our time, or they're going to move him in the offseason. And the team that's getting the most steam, I guess, that they're going to do this, the most hype, are the Golden State Warriors. And I get it. This is the move that they've been waiting for quite some time. That's why they haven't made these big trades when it came to draft assets, because they want to use all their draft capital, all their first-round picks for Giannis. And the interesting part is Brian Windhorst, with his fingers, said the Bucks don't want to win right now. They don't want to get big names in return for Giannis. They want picks. They want to do the OKC thing where they can tank and then get a generational talent in time. But they don't need everything that OKC can offer, or San Antonio and all these other teams that are winning right now. And also, if you're those teams, why would you gut your roster in the middle of the season? So it makes sense for the Warriors to do this. It makes sense for the Warriors to be the most desperate team at the trade deadline to pull this off. And yes, you're going to have to move off of Jimmy Butler or Draymond Green, but you're ready to move off of Kuminga. There's a debate if you want to move off of Podziemski or Moody. I would choose more Podziemski. I think there's more potential with Moody out there. But yeah, I think the Warriors are in good position to pull this deal off by next Thursday.
I think so too. And something Bobby Marks brought up about like Giannis wanting to wait till the summer potentially. Well, that's when the extension stuff comes into play.
Exactly.
And he's eligible if he gets traded before the deadline. He's eligible in October, and if he's traded in the summer, then he's not eligible till January. And who knows what can happen in between that time when you have some basketball that you still have to play. So pretty much it's like, hey, you can either get traded now, then get your extension, stay healthy for the remainder of this season, get your extension 4 years. I think it's like $285 million or some crazy number like that.
Right.
And then you can play with the contract for the next few years, or you can play what's essentially an entire season, I guess, if you're waiting from, like, if you're taking into account like the games from February to May, all the way from October to January, maybe not a full season, but pretty damn close, where there's a risk of potential injury. And maybe, who knows, you're eligible for the extension. Maybe they don't want to give it to you. I don't know. It's a risk, but get your money when you can. So of course he wants to get traded before the deadline, and the Warriors are well equipped. I just wonder, draft assets are probably the most valuable thing. It's what teams value more than anything, and the Warriors are equipped to offer as many trade assets as the others. And I think it's the Knicks, the Heat, Timberwolves entering the fold for some reason. Good God, A-Rod. But do the Bucks value the players, or do they value the draft picks? Like, it's clear they're blowing it up and rebuilding, and if you have those future draft picks, then maybe you can trade for someone else to build your team around. So I wonder, but it does put the Warriors in kind of a prime position. And I know we can talk about whether it's the right fit, or whether it's worth the risk, whether it's worth taking the risk. And I'm gonna say, like I said before, it's John Dickinson's voice is in the back of my head when we had this conversation 3 years ago, actually maybe even 4, where we're on the air, we're talking about a Giannis trade, and then John JD says, look, you can come up with all the reasons you want. It's Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yes.
You trade for Giannis Antetokounmpo. And that was 4 years ago, maybe 5.
I feel that way today. I feel like if the Warriors are in this position and the Bucks say, okay, you say yes. And the conversation between Jimmy or Draymond, who do you trade? Whoever you want. I'm okay with that at this point. Like, seriously, like, if that were to happen, and we were talking to Danny Emmerman on Friday at Harmonic, and he was like, I've heard from sources that they don't want to move Jimmy. They want Jimmy to come back off the torn ACL, and they wanted to build this team around Steph, Jimmy, and Giannis. So that means Draymond. And if you trade away Jimmy, I get it. He's been here for a year and a half. Hasn't really cemented his time with the Warriors. You know, great playoff run, but you can move off of him. And he's got the torn ACL. You have no idea what he's going to be when he comes back at 37 years old. With Draymond, it's different. That's a guy that is going to be potentially a Hall of Famer because his time with this team. And you think of the three guys, Steph, Clay, and Draymond. And Draymond's done a lot of shit through the years and survived from, because, we all know what he's done. The NBA Finals, the suspensions, Jordan Poole, everything. And I'm sure there were times where Steve was like, I can't take this anymore. I cannot do this. We got to move on from Draymond. And Steph's the one guy always being like, I need him. And I think that's why a lot of shit goes on in this organization is because of Steph. Not the bad stuff, but the reason why you see Kuminga not playing sometimes. Steph has a huge hand in this. But I'm sure Steph even himself will be like, yeah, for Giannis, we got to move off of Draymond. And Draymond's even acknowledged himself where he was on his podcast the other day saying, I don't fucking know. I have no idea if I'm going to be here or not. And he answered some questions after the game, the loss to Detroit. And Anthony Slater asked him, and he was like, I've been here for 14 years. I put my time in. My legacy is cemented. And if it happens, it happens. It's not something I'm going to lose sleep over. I get great sleep right now. He took the time to say that. But, yeah, I think that I would be more inclined to trade Draymond, but I am skeptical with Jimmy Butler and that torn ACL.
Well, if Draymond's the one that they're offering, though, how much are the Bucks willing to accept that?
Sorry. I think at this point, Milwaukee gets to pick between Jimmy or Draymond, though.
Right, but I think if other teams have better players that they can offer in a package, that could be kind of a sticking point there where they're like, I don't know.
Well, here's the thing, too. If the Bucks are trying to tank the rest of the season, I don't think Draymond stays on the Bucks for too long.
Right.
I think he gets dealt to Milwaukee, and then he gets moved to LA or some other place. He doesn't stay on that team. Draymond's not the type of guy to stand idly by and be like, you guys trying to do a rebuild? Fine with me. I'll just collect my money and sit on the bench and do my podcast. He's not about that. He's trying to win. But that's what you just said, Steven. There's better players involved with trades. Like if it were to get done with the Warriors, it'd have to be Jimmy or Draymond plus Kuminga plus Podziemski or Moody and 5 first-round picks potentially. 6 even. If Desmond Bane gets moved for 4, you got to believe it's going to be a shit ton for Giannis. Other teams can offer better packages than that. When it comes to players, picks, different.
Yeah.
It depends on what the Bucks value. If they want picks, should be the Warriors. If you want players, OKC, San Antonio, Miami, all these teams make much more sense, which is why I don't think this is going to happen by next week. Because, yes, Giannis can push to get a contract extension, and yes, the Warriors are so desperate that they need this move to save their franchise in the remaining time they have with Steph Curry and Steve Kerr. But why do the Bucks have to do this? They don't have to do shit. They could just, and with Giannis and the calf strain, who knows what his health is like? You trade for Giannis, no doubt. But we know calf strains are a ticking time bomb. And the last thing you need is trading for Giannis and getting him a contract extension, then boom, he's got an Achilles tear. That would suck. So I could see Milwaukee just being like, let's wait till the offseason. We don't need to do jack shit right now.
That's true. That's true. But it's just, then it gets into the awkward nature of having that player on your team while it's clear that he's going to be traded. Like,
you shut him down for the rest of the season. Giannis does not play with that calf strain. You just say he's not going to be here, out of sight, out of mind.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh. Spicy.
Well, I'm just saying, like, it makes no sense at that point. He would not play again. It would be more professional than what Anthony Davis did, but it would be the same thing where it's like, sorry guys, we're not going to have Giannis on this team anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, kind of like the Kevin Durant thing, even though he wasn't eligible for a max extension where eligibility rules said that he can only get this money in October versus January, depending on when he signs. Yeah, they waited till the summer because that's when they could complete a trade that ended up involving like 7 teams overall. So yeah, I could see that. But I could absolutely see them just swinging the deal and saying, you know what, Giannis, get out of here. We got enough draft picks. And they're even more than the offers that they're going to be taking now. They're probably taking inventory of what could be offered in the future. Like, I know several teams are inquiring. I wonder that because you're hearing, I mean, I think it was like Monty Poole who mentioned that with Bonte, and he basically said the Bucks don't have to do anything. They could just sit there and wait for calls. But I do think the Bucks can call other teams and say, hey, look, you're probably not willing to make a trade right now, but down the line in this summer,
Right.
maybe you'd be willing to sell off these players. Like, what are you going to be willing to offer? I bet you they'd be taking inventory of what they could get this summer instead of just waiting for offers now. Like, so I don't really buy that. I don't buy the Bucks front office is just waiting there patiently for the phone to ring and just accepting any offer and just goes to the highest bidder. Like, I don't believe that. I think they are planning to see what's out there for the summer, to see what would be, more just equitable for them.
Yeah. I think you have to do your due diligence. John Horst is the GM. If you just make a deal with the most desperate team, then you really didn't vet all your options. Like Nico Harrison just wanting to do a deal with Rob Pelinka for Luka Doncic. You should have you should have asked everybody. And why'd you do it at the trade deadline? Yeah, okay, you got Anthony Davis in return, but no, like you should have let it be known to everybody.
Right.
And then if you do, then maybe the trade falls apart. I'm not sure about that. But like the same thing with like, did everybody know that Rafael Devers was on, the table for Boston? Buster Posey just snuck in at the very end. Or not the very end, but from the get-go. And then that deal got done behind closed doors. With Giannis, it's different in the NBA. Like, unless Giannis does the usual thing that NBA players do, where like, I want to go to this team in particular, then the Bucks can do whatever they want. They don't have to, I think things change in the last few years when Kawhi, I think, wanted to go to the Lakers initially, and Popovich is like, I'm not sending you there. No, I'm sending you there to Toronto. Doing the best deal I want to do. Same thing with Dame when he wanted to leave Portland and wanted to go to Miami.
Yeah.
There were league memos telling agents, you cannot do this. You cannot tell your client, just tell them that you won't show up for that team, then they have to trade you where you want to go. Giannis, he's got more pull. And I don't think that the Bucks would be angry with doing a deal with the Warriors. But at the end of the day, they got to do what's best for them. So, yes, Giannis, I doubt he's going to play the bad guy and tell them, like, I want my money now. And from what Sam Amick told me and Copes, Giannis is a businessman. He wants to get his money. And with that calf strain, it's more advantageous for him to get this deal done by next week than have to wait for the offseason. But the Bucks don't have to do anything. So if I had to guess, I don't think they will. I think they'll, even though the Warriors' offer might still be the best come the summertime, you still wait on that. Let's see what else is out there. That offer will still be there. We know what Joe Lacob thinks about Giannis. And this is all they have. We know the Warriors are so fucking desperate. This is their ace in the hole. So let's just make them wait. And it will still be there. But we can still also figure out if the San Antonio Spurs want to do this, or the Thunder. A lot of teams that are trying to win right now this season will come back to the drawing board if they lose and by the offseason and go, all right, we need Giannis. It's clear that the Spurs can beat the Thunder in the regular season, but maybe to get us over the hump, we trade for Giannis. So I do think the Bucks are going to wait. And on the flip side, that would be detrimental for the Warriors. If this deal is to get done, if they were to get Giannis, I think it has to be by next week. Otherwise, their chances diminish in the offseason.
Sure. And that's not even to speak on what the Warriors could look like in the future. I think it's, it's risky. It is so risky because you trade away. I mean, look, people could say what they want about Draymond. They could say it. And I understand it. Like, he's regressed pretty much each year since that championship run, right? And now it's steeping to levels where you really feel like it's truly impacting the team, especially on the offensive side of the ball. But you do run the risk of getting a guy who has been basically running the defense for the last 14 years, at least on the floor, kind of like a player coach. Moses Moody and Brandon Pajemski have not played poorly when the Warriors have been winning basketball games. They haven't been consistent. Those two are weird. They're a strange couple of players to try and evaluate because God, there's some games where you're thinking, okay, this is who they could be, but you feel like that the potential that they do reach, it just happens once every few games. Like, you're pretty consistent with Podziemski in terms of the energy that he brings. He's probably going to draw a charge. He might hit a couple of 3-pointers, and it's the same with Moody. Like, he's smart defensively. He's a team guy. He's going to pass up a good shot so that the Warriors can find a great shot. But if he has an open shot, he's going to take it. But there's other times where he kind of falls into the Andrew Wiggins thing where he's just kind of there, and he's just, he might get like he might play solid perimeter defense, but there's times where it just feels like he's invisible on the floor, and there's just no impact whatsoever. There are a couple of odd players. I don't know what it's going to look like without them, but if you get rid of all those guys and then you bring in Giannis, like, what's that going to look like? Steph, Giannis, Quentin Post, Pat Spencer, even though his minimum amount of games is about to run up pretty soon here on a 2-year contract.
Let's be real. If they trade for Giannis at the deadline, they're not going to win this year. It's not going to be like Luka a year ago, where initially I thought that they were not going to really do well, maybe like a 6 seed, a 7 seed, because they gutted the roster to get him. They still were a 3 seed in the end. If they get Giannis and they lose Draymond, Kuminga, Moody, then yeah, it's just Steph, Pods, D'Anthony Melton, and Giannis. They're going to be an 8 or 9 seed.
Yeah.
And we don't know what Giannis is going to be this season with the calf strain. So maybe just put him on ice and let's just do this for one more year with Steph, Steve, and Giannis. And that's another thing. If they get Giannis, I think that Steve Kerr is rejuvenated to be the coach of the Warriors again, where I don't feel like he's really happy right now.
Yeah.
I think he's happy to be the coach. I think there's just a lot of bullshit, as I said last time. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see a multi-year deal with Steve this offseason if they land Giannis. But you just made a good point, Steven. Like, if they get rid of their draft capital, then what is this team going to be like in the future? I think for Joe Lacob, it's like, I don't give a shit. I'm passing the torch from Steph to Giannis. But for Giannis, you're in the same position that you're in now with Milwaukee down the line with the Warriors. Who am I winning with when Steph retires? So that may be where Giannis has to say, like, I love Steph Curry, but I don't want to go there right now.
Does it not feel, does it, I can't say, because I'd have to go back and look at that, because I'm thinking of the most recent roster for the Clippers, but I got to go back and look at when the now suspended Paul George was traded.
Yeah, 25 games. Yikes.
Yeah, which really sucks. I mean, it sounds like it was, I don't know if it's just an excuse. I'm willing to believe it. It sounds like it was some sort of medication for something he's dealing with mentally, and somehow that was illegal in the NBA, which would really suck if that was the case for him. Okay, but let's just see. So he's traded from the Thunder in 2019 to the Clippers for the 2019-2020 season. Yeah, I'm trying to look up that damn Clippers team, and I can't seem to find it. Let's just go to the starting lineup that he actually played with, because he missed a lot of games to start the year. The starting lineup that he played with was Lou Williams, Montrezl Harrell, Mo Harkless, Terrence Mann, and that was the starting 5. Then the bench had Rodney McGruder, JaMychal Green, Jerome Robinson, and Ivica Zubac. And they managed to put a team around him, but it just never worked out with the Clippers. It just feels like that could be like a cautionary tale. Yeah. All right, so you're moving on to this team. Well, what are they going to look like? They're aging right now. It seems like they're maybe going to get a couple of more years out of Steph. Who knows what it's going to be after that? But they're going to, if they could, they'd give him a lifetime contract if they wanted to. So I don't know. I really, that's the conundrum, right? It's like, yes, absolutely, trade for Giannis. But from Giannis's camp, all right, well, what's my career going to look like? It's just going to be me. If Curry retires, it's going to be a new coach. We're gonna have to start this thing off from square. I don't know if I could do that, and I personally, if I'm Giannis, why am I going to the West? Why would I want to go to the West? Right now I got a team on the rise in the Pistons. That's terrific within the East. But if you're telling me I could go to the Mecca and join the Knicks, or go to the Heat, that's an interesting one. I live in Miami, whatever. But why not stay in the East?
Well, all those moves make sense if Giannis is a free agent. The fact that he's going to get traded, you're going to gut the roster down.
True, and you're not going to trade him in the same conference.
Exactly. So yeah, the Warriors might be the best option for him. Just as far as I get to play with Steph a little while, and they got to retool around me. Like, there's a rumor out there that they're going to trade for Giannis and sign LeBron in free agency, and I'm like, oh man, I don't know about that. We'll
Right.
see. But they would have to make moves, and guys would want to play with Steph and Giannis, but then you go into the luxury tax and aprons and all this shit that I don't care to figure out in the NBA free agency anymore. Um, yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense long term, but it's Giannis. I think that's Joe Lacob's goal. I remember years ago when he was on with my pops and Bonte, and he was like, always want to make attention, okay? It's like with the Steelers and hiring Mike McCarthy, where they still want to, they still want to have these 10-7, 9-8 seasons, where Joe Lacob was like, listen, we have 4 All-Stars on my roster right now, 5. I always want to play with All-Stars. I want to have big names on this team. And that's been the biggest problem is the 2 timeline approach and trying to find the next wave of superstar. And Kuminga's not that guy. If you get Giannis, this is your LeBron passing the torch to Luka with the Lakers. Steph passing the torch to Giannis. People are still going to show up to the arena to see him. But can you make it where that team is going to be competitive down the line? I do not know. But if they pull this off, props to Joe Lacob for always wanting to do this. This is his dream. And props to Mike Dunleavy Jr., who I think is getting a bad rap lately. As I told you last time, like how many GMs get to actually do their job where they start from scratch and build a team up, where right away you have expectations. It's going to be difficult, and it has been difficult for them. But if they land this, this trade, it would be the biggest trade in Warriors history to trade for Giannis and potentially trade away Draymond Green. Maybe one of the biggest trades in Bay Area history. It would be monumental and would keep the franchise alive. Does it get you a championship? I don't know, because even with Giannis and Steph, I don't know if that's enough to beat the Thunder and these other teams in the West. But it gives you a chance.
So you think this would surpass the 49ers trade for Jimmy Garoppolo?
Just slightly. Yeah.
You think so?
Slightly.
It's a tough one.
And then let's go to baseball real quick, Steven. Just real quick. We'll be back next Thursday. We'll figure things out. If Giannis gets traded, we may jump on earlier next week. But the plan is for next week, for Just Your Opinion, man, we're gonna do a show on Thursday and Saturday. Thursday, like a trade reaction show and see if there's anything out there news wise. Saturday we'll do a Super Bowl preview. Do you think this gets done next week? Do you think it happens where they get Giannis?
I'm going to say yes, and begrudgingly, actually, just from a personal standpoint.
I got you.
I love this for the Warriors, absolutely. Yeah. But for me, like from a selfish perspective, this is going to suck because I made my friend feel like an idiot for making them think that they were going to trade for Giannis. And I don't know if he's listening right now, but I don't think that he is going to respect the idea that I said that before Jimmy Butler ended up tearing his ACL and he was done for the season. And there's new information, and this is new circumstances as to why they're trading for him. He's not going to care about that. We haven't even brought up Giannis, as a matter of fact. And if he ends up getting traded to the Warriors, this dude is going to be peppering me nonstop with, I told you. And you didn't call it. You called it last summer. Thought it was going to happen last summer because a couple of Instagram pages said it was going to happen. Anyway, that's just me. We always have that, right? Like we as the sports guys, we always try to kind of pour any cold water on these almost dreamlike delusional scenarios. I thought the Warriors getting Giannis was delusional before, but now it's a very real possibility, and I think it's going to happen before Thursday.
I'm with you, Steven, where when you talk with your friends or your family members and you say something's going to happen and then it doesn't, and they're like, "Oh, Mr. Sports Guy, you know what you're talking about, huh?" I'm like, "Fuck you."
Yeah,
I do know what I'm talking about. All right.
Yeah.
And I was with you. I thought the Giannis move was a pipe dream, and now it's gaining momentum. But if I had to guess, I think it doesn't happen. I'm going to say that this was all just to test the waters for Milwaukee. And if the Warriors are the only team that's really trying to make a move, then why would we do anything? We should have a line of teams calling us. I think this is kind of like a year ago where we thought Kevin Durant was going to get traded to the Warriors again, and it didn't happen. So, yeah, I'm not falling for it. I definitely could see it happening, but for right now, I'm going to say it does not happen next Thursday.
Yeah, and I'll say this: Sham's track record as ESPN's lead guy hasn't been great yet.
What do you mean?
As far as like the saying this could happen, and then something else happens. Like Shams
Where Woj was more on it, you think?
feels like Woj didn't really like. He talked about intensifying talks or whatever, but it felt like that was done around him, and Woj was just always the one that was kind of like the final boss, where it's like as long as he tweets out that it happens, then it's going to happen. But yeah, with Shams, I can't give you the receipts, but it feels like Shams has been wrong a few times.
Well, he just, intensified talks. Things are leading in that direction. He doesn't really know. He just says what agents tell him.
Yeah, I love it. I love this. I love this day and age where they give the breaking news on Twitter, then they have to go onto Sports Center so that they could basically read their tweet, then repeat the information in the most redundant fashion possible.
There's not a lot of analysis. Yeah.
Then write an article about it and say, for more here, check out the news here. And then you just go with the history of Giannis Antetokounmpo as a player, which you could just look at his Wikipedia page. I don't like that type of reporting. I'm kind of annoyed with that now.
Yeah, that happens all the time now where the national insiders break the story and then they say, for more information, here's an article where the local beat writer for ESPN or NFL Network gives you the actual story.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, hey, do all the work for me. I'll break the news. I make my money by the tweet, okay? Like that's journalism these days.
Yeah.
But you know what? I would trust those sources more than internet sources when it comes to talks are intensifying for Framber Valdez for the Giants. Like, I don't know if that actually has legs. That was a big internet rumor the other night. You have to give credit to the guy that initially reported it, but he gets a lot of things right and wrong. And I think Jeff Passan was asked about this, and he said, I haven't heard anything about Framber Valdez to the Giants. I haven't heard that.
Right.
And if they landed him, that'd be pretty sweet. Get your second starter in the rotation, replacement for Robbie Ray down the line. But I'll believe it when I see it. You have you like Framber Valdez, or you turned off a little bit by him crossing up his pitcher last year?
What?
You see that?
Oh, that. No, I'm not turned off by that. If they do get Framber Valdez, you're just getting a left-handed Logan Webb. Strikeout rate's not the same because
a lot of innings.
Logan Webb's improved, but eats up innings. Ground ball rate is extremely high. It's higher than more starting pitchers. And if you have an infield with Willie Adames and Matt Chapman on the left side, if they could stay healthy. Now, Luis Ariz, who's not great defensively, not good even. That might be a liability. And then Rafael Devers, another season at first base. We'll see. But I'd feel pretty good about that if Framber Valdez was signed. But they do, of course, I'd feel good if they got anybody because that's the thing. Like they need another starting pitcher.
Yeah, they do. Or would you say or six?
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Just overload on starting pitching. Start fresh, man. You don't have a bullpen.
No, you don't. And that was, a year ago, they were winning because of their starting rotation and their bullpen. And now I think it's going to be more
tradition of having 5 starting pitchers in the rotation who pitch every 5th day. No, I'm saying we go 8-man starting rotation.
Damn, you want to go like a 13 rotation like Steve Kerr was doing a couple years ago?
Yes. Give everyone some extended time off so they could eat up innings.
All right. And you mentioned it, Steven, Luis Ariz, he's a hit machine. Signs with the Giants yesterday, 1 year, $12 million. Definitely a mixed reaction. And I didn't really know, like I've seen him play and he was successful with the Marlins and the Padres. I think he led the NL in hits last year with 181. So he gets on base and he will be the leadoff hitter for the Giants. But defensively, yes, he's not very good and he doesn't hit with power. So I know some people are like, well, I'd rather have Casey Schmidt out there. It's like, I don't know if Casey Schmidt's an everyday second baseman, and now you can use him as a utility guy across the infield. But if you have a lineup now with Luis Ariz, leading off, I don't know where you put Jung-Hoo Lee. I would assume that a Willie Adames is your second or third hitter. Rafael Devers still, clean up. You got options now on offense. And now Bader, who's going to be your center fielder every day, you could put him down the lineup to either 7, 8, or 9, probably before Bailey, obviously. But I I like the move, but I understand defensively it's not the best for the Giants.
No. And Casey Schmidt is a much better defender than Arise is, but I don't know, man. I can't hate on getting a guy who can average 290 to 300. I mean, he's not going to give you as many home runs, but I mean, who does with the Giants? Like, if you're telling me you can get a guy who's can hit for contact and get on base, then I'm all for it, because more often than not, Casey Schmidt would get off to these. He was like not even the streakiest player, because streakiest implies that he's hot 1 minute and cold the next. It feels like he was hot for a stretch of games and then would just cool off dramatically for an extended period of time. So I don't think that him or Tyler Fitzgerald, to me, as having them as everyday second baseman, I don't know. I wasn't into that. It's wild to me that the Giants, who can't get more than 83 wins to save their lives, it's wild to me that fans are complaining about them getting a guy who can actually get on base finally.
Yeah, I mean, I hear both sides of it.
It really is. It's just crazy.
No, I mean, I get both sides of it, because Casey Schmidt, yes, is a better defender, but Luis Arraez, I mean, what was he? The hitting champion the last 2 years or whatever it is, Silver Slugger, All-Star. He's pretty damn good. It's just, yeah, he doesn't hit for power, but
and it's not what's valued in today's game. And I'm willing to hear all the arguments. Can we stop looking at like all the expecteds and the
yes.
What else is there? The bacon batting average on contact. Like, I don't know, man. I'm just, if you don't like it, then fine. But if you're getting a guy who can hit anywhere from 280 to 300 consistently, hey, he led the league in sacrifice bunts last year. How about that? Here's my thing with, okay, you're not happy with that move, fine. But if Arise is on this team, but you need other things to happen too. You need Willie Adames to not take 4 or 5 months to get going. You need Matt Chapman to stay healthy. You need Jung-Hoo Lee to be consistent instead of just, getting off to a great start in April and then cooling off until August. You need Elliot Ramos to be a much better base runner and defensive player in left field. I like the Harrison Bader move in center. Doesn't really do much for me in the lineup. You need Patrick Bailey to hit above 200. That'd be cool. You need a lot of other things to happen too.
And
among the list of concerns that I would have for the Giants, it's not the fact that their second baseman who can hit 295 is a defensive liability. It's just not.
And you need better starters past Webb, Ray, and Roop. And I don't know who's it? Molly and Hauser?
Yeah.
If you get a Framber Valdez, then one of those guys is your fifth starter. Then you can use another guy as like a reliever. So
I'm not mad if 2 of those 3 guys are the 4 and 5 pitchers. And I'm talking Roop, Molly, and Hauser. But if they need somebody legit in that third spot, and I don't know who that pitcher, and maybe that's maybe Valdez can be that guy. But
if you get him, the offseason's not bad. I think Giants fans are too hung up on the Dodgers did this with Kyle Tucker.
Yeah.
And yeah, of course you're going to compare the two teams because they're in the same division. But for right now, just focus on the Giants. I know, I'm going to hear AJ Cruz and Rock and Air be like, just focus on your team. I know there's a rivalry. I get it. I heard it at FanFest a week ago, or beat LA. I get that. It's not about that right now. It's not about beating LA. Is the goal to win a series or 2 against the Dodgers this year? Absolutely. But the goal is just to be the third NL wildcard team at this point and see what Tony Vitello is as a manager. So don't compare your offseason to the Dodgers anymore. If you get Framber Valdez, I think it's a pretty good offseason.
Yeah, no, I agree. Besides, it doesn't really matter what happens this season anyway, because next season they're going to go into a lockout, but that's a conversation for another day. My expectations, my bar is pretty low for the Giants. Please, I said this win mark earlier, and I'll say it again because I haven't done this since 2016, or they've only done it once since 2016, and that was, of course, in 2021. But please, God, just get more than 85 wins.
Yeah.
That's all I'm asking. Just more than 85.
And maybe some more stolen bases. They haven't had, 30 or what? I forget the stat, but yeah, it's been a while.
Just stop going into these lulls. Like, it's like anti-complimentary baseball, where it's like when the offense sucks, well, the pitching sucks. It's like it's just all around every phase of the game. Every phase of the game, it stinks. Like, I don't know. Just get me more than 85 wins. If I'm a Giants fan, that's all I'm asking right now.
Yeah, but 85 could be enough to get you in that wild card spot.
Maybe.
But I don't know if they're better than the D-backs or the Padres at this point.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I think I truly believe that they're a more talented team than people are giving credit for. I really think that. I think I just think they underperformed. I really do. Next season, you get a full year with Devers. Willie Adames is finally comfortable after spending quite a few seasons with the Brewers and the Rays. Matt Chapman's always been inconsistent. Like, that's always been him in the lineup, but he's so damn good at third base. You're willing to take that. You're willing to take a 230 batting average if he can get you 20 home runs and play defense at third base the way that he does. You're just going to need improved play from everybody if you want that. The Luis Ariz thing, I don't know. The alternative of splitting time with Casey Schmidt and Tyler Fitzgerald or whomever would be the option at second base. No, it's not really inspiring.
Yeah. And, the big thing is, yes, this team may have talent, but how is Tony Vitello going to be as a manager? How does he work a bullpen? What style of play are they going to be? Are they going to be an aggressive team with more small ball? We saw that a year ago. Is that more Buster Posey's influence than Bob Melvin? I don't know. But, yeah, a lot of questions. And, I think they're going to score more runs. They're going to be an exciting team. But as far as what they really were defensively early on, I'm not sure they have that same talent this year. All right, let's finish up with what we do usually on the weekend shows. A little jackass of the week. Steven, you got one?
Well, I did go into it like thinking the Vikings just as an ownership group or NFL owners in general for saying that this guy shouldn't take 2 weeks off of leave. That should be the jackass of the week. But that doesn't really count for me because don't hate the player, hate the game. So in that instance, I'd probably have to call the entire NFL a jackass. Would be my jackass of the week because you're not allowing your members to take 2 weeks off of paternity leave in comfort. So I guess I'd say that. But other than that, honestly, my jackass of the week, it's no one in particular.
Okay.
It's anyone on the PGA Tour who thinks that Brooks Koepka returning to the tour is unfair. I just think, you know what? They took a chance. They took a chance going to Live Golf, and quite frankly, I don't agree with it. Them going to Live, taking hundreds of millions of dollars just to play, so it should be guaranteed. You can get a guaranteed spot. But Koepka seemed like legitimately not remorseful, but it seems like he's completely changed in terms of his mindset towards the tour. And I still saw some golfers trying to speak out against it, saying, I don't know how I feel about it, blah, blah, blah. You're just going to take the money and run. Well, no, he's not. He's coming back, and he's also getting fined a hefty penalty. Like, he's not going to be making any of the bonus money in 2026. He's also donating a bunch too. Like, he's sacrificing some just so he can get back onto the tour. So anyone who is complaining about Brooks Koepka returning to the PGA from Live Golf, that's my jackass of the week.
Solid choice. Initially, I was going to go with the NFL Hall of Fame for not having Bill Belichick be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Pro Football Hall of Fame. Remember that, Derek.
Sorry, Pro Football Hall of
Fame.
Pro Football Hall of Fame. I heard we had Howard Balzer on, who's a longtime NFL writer, join us on Friday, and it sounded like he didn't vote for Belichick. He wasn't going to tell us, but it sounded like he didn't. He gave a lot of reasons as to why Belichick shouldn't go in, and we make a big deal about first ballot Hall of Famers. There was also a Kansas City Chiefs writer that was very honest and wrote a whole article about how he admitted that he didn't vote for Belichick. I'm probably getting this name wrong, but Vahe Gregorian, Gregorian. He writes for the Kansas City Star, and the reason he says that he didn't vote for Belichick was because he wanted to prioritize senior candidates that have not gotten in yet. And I understand that. But I guess really it's just the system that I'm mad about. Maybe you shouldn't have made this new rule where if you retire or you're done with coaching after one season, then you're eligible. Now this becomes a thing. Or maybe Belichick should have waited 5 years. And now I think he's being, he's being punished for that, which I don't know. I do think we make a big deal out of first ballot Hall of Famers too much. But when it's Bill Belichick, like, yeah, he should be in. Like, that's a no-brainer to me. When you say, like, well, it's a small list of other guys that have done that, as far as head coaches, Don Shula, Chuck Noll, who am I missing? Tom Landry.
Yeah.
Bill Belichick's in that class. He has the most Super Bowl rings. He should have gone in. But I don't really know who to blame jackass-wise there, because I still love the Hall of Fame. And the owner, I mean, the writers, yeah, they're gatekeepers, but maybe it's just because they're just at the mercy of what the process is. My jackass of the week, and you let me know if this is worthy of being jackass of the week, Steven.
Okay.
We heard of the story about Amari Bailey.
Yeah.
So he's in the NBA now. He plays for Charlotte.
Right.
But he's relegated to the G League. He's getting playing time. He's not getting playing time. This came out on Friday. He wants to become the first player to return to college after appearing in NBA games.
Yeah.
He wants to go back to UCLA. He still has years of eligibility, but the NCAA said, we're not going to grant this. And I don't know if he's a jackass for this, but I think he's just kind of ignorant, or just maybe like, dude, that part of your life's over now. You got to move on. Like, what are you trying to go back in time? Like, this seems like a movie to me. You want to go back to college?
Well, they're making way more money now. Like,
yeah,
I don't know how much G League players are getting paid, specifically him, but I don't know. And he's not like the first. There was another guy. I can't remember who it was. It was someone from the Bulls. He was a two-way player for the Bulls who was drawing interest from USC and whatever. I don't know. I don't think maybe he should. Maybe it's a jackass kind of all around situation.
Maybe it's just naive. Like, maybe it's just, I don't know, more ridiculous than anything. You know what? Okay, I'll give the Pro Football Hall of Fame writers the jackass of the week, and I'll give Amari Bailey an honorable mention because he's young, so I don't think it's really jackass worthy. But I think it's weird where it's like, dude, you got to make a decision. When you go to the NBA, that's it. So yes, it sucks. You're not getting playing time. You're in the G League
for sure.
But just because NIL has changed things, you can't go back to college. It's too late.
Yeah. I mean, if you declared, you should stick around. I love how I think it was James Najee was his name, the guy who went to Baylor. And kind of created this whole thing. Not really created, but that's when the firestorm of criticism started. I like how he started playing. He's like, what did I do? Like he paraphrased. He's like, I didn't do anything wrong. I just decided to come to college and everyone's pissed off about it.
Okay, lastly, pop culture catch-up before we wrap things up. Anything you have been seen, watching, Steven?
My friend. Yeah. We are on the Traders now.
You're all over the show, huh?
We are in on the hype. We are now towards the end of the second season. I think there's one more episode to go, maybe two. But we are all in on the hype. And this week, yes, we were inspired by the Bill Simmons rewatchables thing. But since it was leaving Netflix, we ended up watching Zodiac separate times.
Is it gone?
No, it's there mid-February, until mid-February. So you're good.
Love that movie. Love Zodiac.
Yeah. So watch Zodiac.
Underrated, honestly. People don't bring it up enough.
Yeah, it's a great movie. Kind of got lost in the shuffle in 2007 because I think it came out in like the early part of the year instead of like when all the Oscar movies come out.
Right.
But that movie's so good. If people from the Bay Area haven't seen that, like you got to.
A little cameo from Jay Stein.
Really? When?
His voice is in it. He's one of the guys on the radio.
Oh, that's right. He's the radio guy. Yeah. So yeah, that Traders, Zodiac. What was the other thing? Watched that Netflix Miracle doc last night too.
Okay.
Which is just, I mean, that story doesn't get old.
No, it doesn't. I've watched some new flicks. Watched Begonia last weekend. That movie is intense, and I can't say I'm surprised that Jesse Plemons wasn't nominated. I got to look at the Best Actor nominees right now, like who should be taken off. But his performance was pretty amazing. Emma Stone's fantastic in it as well. It's by the guy that did Poor Things. Really, really weird movie, but really, really good in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd imagine the Ghost movie is weird every single time.
Always weird. Always weird. I watched The Smashing Machine last night, the new rock movie that was directed by Benny Safdie, the one Safdie brother that's looked at really good right now. You know what's going on with Josh Safdie?
Yeah.
It's I'm a big fan of his work and I love Marty Supreme, but we started to understand why that brother the brothers' relationship kind of split apart. Some not great stuff about Josh Safdie right now. So we'll see about his career going forward. But as far as The Smashing Machine, a lot of people didn't like it. I thought it was interesting. Idea for a movie, subject matter, I should say, where Mark Kerr was this legend in UFC, but doesn't get the proper praise, maybe because he didn't win. And I thought it was a really good story on what athletes do when they lose, because we usually see the triumphant, success stories, the underdog stories, but what about the guys that had all the potential and didn't fulfill it?
Right.
How does that look? How do they deal with that? So I thought it was good. I thought it was interesting, but I understand like it was kind of a little disjointed all over the place with the storyline and The Rock and Emily Blunt and that relationship being toxic. But really what was fascinating to me was seeing this guy lose and how he deals with it. Because I think that's something that Benny Safdie talked about in an interview, where he's more interested in the sports stories that show the guys that come in second place or the guys that never actually fulfilled expectations. How do they deal with life after that?
Right. I heard that was a really good documentary too, which kind of gets lost. But The Smashing Machine, I still haven't seen it. Need to.
Yeah, it's on HBO Max. I recommend it. It's a good watch if you're just chilling at the house. Also on HBO Max, the Mel Brooks documentary, The 99-Year-Old Man that Judd Apatow made. If you're a comedy lover, everybody's interviewed in it. Dave Chappelle, Ben Stiller, Adam Sandler. Everybody looks up to this guy. In my opinion, he's the king of comedy. And when he passes away, that's going to be a very sad day.
Yeah.
But just hearing him talk about how he created Blazing Saddles and Spaceballs and Young Frankenstein, he's the hero to everybody that you think of. Larry David, all of these guys. His relationship with Carl Reiner doing the 100-year-old man or the 2,000-year-old man, whatever it is.
Right.
It's classic. I highly recommend it if you're a comedy lover.
Damn.
And then lastly, before we get out of here, this news kind of got to me. Rest in peace to Catherine O'Hara, man. God. When I think of her, obviously Home Alone comes to mind, but she's fantastic in Schitt's Creek. I wasn't a huge fan of that show, but she was amazing in it. All of the Christopher Guest movies, her relationship with Eugene Levy, Best in Show, A Mighty Wind, For Your Consideration, the mom in Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
And I don't think that women in comedy get enough love. So she's one of the, in my opinion, one of the originals. Like everybody talks about Kristen Wiig, Maya Rudolph, Tina Fey, Amy Poehler, but she was one of the original female cast members on SNL, I think in the 80s, after Gilda Radner and everybody else you can think of. And she's beloved. Like think about actors and actresses that don't get a lot of hate. I think everybody just loved her because she was damn good at her job. She was funny. She was a really good actress too. She was just in The Last of Us this last season as the therapist. Did a fantastic job. And personally, like when I think of her passing away, I'm like, damn. Like I grew up on movies and television, so I think like sometimes you think of actors and actresses, how they raise you in a way. I think about that with Robin Williams, where I always think of Mrs. Doubtfire as like the perfect example of a father, in my opinion, in a movie. Catherine O'Hara, you could say what you want about like, well, she didn't care about Kevin in the first place when they go off to the airport and everything. I think her performance as the mom is amazing. And I don't think there's a man amongst us in the world that when they watch that scene when she comes home and says, "Merry Christmas, Kevin," and hugs him, you don't think about your mom. You don't think about your own mom and get emotional thinking about it. So when I heard that news, I was like, damn, I kind of felt like somebody that kind of like raised me passed away. It was weird, but like I'm sad that Catherine O'Hara passed away.
Yeah. I mean, it's the end of kind of an era. Like you mentioned the Beetlejuice mom. That's the one that sticks with me when I think of her, because I grew up on that movie. We had the DVD, so I watched it a bunch. Best in Show is I mean, that's probably like my second favorite, and then Moira Rose is my third favorite for her. But then also, like, her performance in the studio was awesome. But literally going through, like, the mom in Home Alone, who clearly cares about her son, and also it's just how it's written. I'm not going to blame Catherine O'Hara for leaving her son at the airport. But the fact that she could play that kind of mom, but also the kind of mom in Moira Rose, who kind of cares but is more full of herself.
Yeah.
And then the Beetlejuice mom, who is completely full of herself, who's not even the mom. She's just the stepmom who kind of comes in and takes over everything. No, she could do it all. Or she could be the single dog mom in Best in Show.
Yeah.
Literally can do everything. And it was shocking. It's like, as you kind of get older, I'm not old by any means, but even 71 years old just doesn't feel like that. Like now that you know your parents or people that you're familiar with, they're kind of getting into their 70s now, and you realize that 71 is still fairly young. It was a shock, man. I did not expect that at all, because we get these little things at KCBS where they have like the Associated Press news updates when it's like officially confirmed. And when I saw Catherine O'Hara dead at 71, like, what? Yeah, terrible.
Yeah, man, I'm with you. You think about, unfortunately, your own parents too, where it's like, damn, 71, that's not old.
For sure.
And she just was in Last of Us, I said, but what was the show a year ago? The Studio. She was fantastic at The Studio. And even in that, she's like, she plays a Hollywood producer, and she's kind of, an asshole to Seth Rogen, but also kind of like a mother in a way. So yeah, that's just, I don't know, sad. And Ernie tells me that she was on SNL for a week. I mean, she was one of the like original cast members, but she didn't last too long. In the 80s, I guess. But she went to SCTV with Rick Moranis and John Candy. She was also in the John Candy documentary recently that came out. She's fantastic in that, just talking about their friendship. So yeah, that sucked. That she was loved by everybody. That one got me sad. All right, everybody, that's gonna be it for today. We've been on here long enough, talking about everything that's broken or could possibly transpire in Bay Area sports. We'll be back on Thursday to react to the NBA trade deadline. If something happens with Giannis, we may hop on earlier, but the plan for next week is for us to do a show on Thursday and a show on Saturday to preview the Super Bowl. To everybody in the chat, to AJ Cruz, Dom Peralta, Ernie One, Rock a New Era, Patrick Heehan, 8523, Danny Golding TV. I think Pat H was in here. Yep, Pat H. Mac Van, our guy Aram, and I believe Tribe 69 Dudes. For whatever reason said Derek Papa makes me creamy. I don't know if that's a legit account. Anyway, getting uncomfortable. That's it for today, everybody. We'll see you on Thursday. Steven, say what you always say.
Checks in the mail. Tribe 69 guy. That's just our opinion, man. Ew.